Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. It's Saturday night snap count on the Fanatic Sports Network, man. Listen, we here to talk SEC conference preview, man. That's what we've been waiting on. We've been through all the rest. Now let's talk about the best. It just means more in the SEC. You got Alabama under new management. You got new players at the table, Texas and OU. You got a handful of first-year starters that are expected to carry the load. We're going to talk about all that tonight, man, with our panel. So let's go ahead and get into it, man. The Saturday Night Snap Count on the Fanatic Sports Network.
No, I got you on this one, Coach. It ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. That's right. It's the Fanatic Sports Network, man. We're at our Saturday Night Snap Count, wrapping up our conference season previews. We will, in a couple of weeks, talk about some of the G5s, but we wrapping up our P4 conference previews. We've done the ACC, we've done the Big 10, we've done the Big 12. Make sure you get to the channel and check those out, man. We got a lot of good content coming your way. We got content creators coming on. Y'all, if this your first time watching the Snap Count, we got a panel of 8 content creators, including myself, from different channels, representing different teams, different conferences, to talk about all of college football. During the season, it'll be every Saturday night at 10:30 p.m. during the season now. Not now, but during the season at 10:30 pretty much after the last game is wrapped up, and then we do our wrap up every Saturday night. So let's get this thing started, man. Bring in my guy, my co-host, the Stat Guy. What's up, Stat?
Hey, what's going on, man? Look, you already know I stay game ready. We talking about the SEC. Go ahead and put me in one time, Coach.
That's right. That's right. I love it. I love it. Hey, got the gloves ready. You gonna make me break out. You know I got some wide receiver gloves from the Dogs. You gonna break out the gloves. I love it, dog. I love it. How you feeling tonight?
Hey, man, it's been a long off season. It's been a long wait. Everybody's pretty much kicked off fall camp now. Man, we just got a couple weeks left to go, and we can start hearing some helmets crack. Bring on the season.
That's right. Bring it on, man. Bring it on. Listen, let's move on to our next content creator, representing the Hall of Fame college football. Hold on. Comments wrong. Okay. Representing the Hall of Fame college football is Jason Waktins. What's going on, Jason?
What's up there, Coach I? Happy music.
Chill. Yeah, I didn't know. Okay. Well, we got you in.
We're here.
That's right.
Glad to be here tonight. Right. Hey, man, and I don't have the gloves, so I'll just throw up the hat. But hey, man, glad to be on. It just means more here. Let's talk about it.
That's right. Let's talk about it, man. Looks like somebody got banned in the comments already. What's going on, bro? Y'all calm down. We didn't even start talking about your team yet. You know what I'm saying? Somebody got banned in the comments already. The comments were removed.
Oh, that's just so nuts. Don't worry. We just put him in timeout. We don't ban him.
I got you. I'm like, bro, the show ain't even started and they talking trash. Jesus, man, we got some people in the comments already, man. Timothy Green, what's going on, man? What's going on? Eddie Black, Sooner Cowboys, the First Lady, Shelby, what's going on? Sooner Legends in the building, back from the dead. What's going on, my guy? Mike Dubb in the building. Eddie Black, yep. Sooner Cherry Bear. Woo Pig in the building, trying to check out Woo Pig in the building, stopping by to see what y'all talking about. Listen, we're gonna talk about it all, man. So be ready. Chicken is in the building. What's going on, Chicken? One of the Fanatic and Hall of Fame college football channel members. Bishop Frank in the building. What's going on, Bishop Frank? Well, we in here tonight. Mike Free, what's going on, Mike Free? Say go Dogs. We appreciate you getting in here, man. Hey, we in here. It just means more. That's right. It just means more. Just a little side note. I saw, man, the state of Georgia high school players can't even earn NIL anymore as of this coming Monday. Hey man, let's leave the kids' money alone. It's like I don't know why it changed, but leave the kids' money alone. Odd Future in the building. He's like looks like a Texas fan. Hook 'em. Okay, I'll see you. Stephen G in the building. Justin Q in the building. Boom Squad in the building. Sooner Cowboys in the building. Well, hey man, like first off, before we get started, thank everybody for showing up, man. Thank everybody for showing up. Whether you're watching on Facebook, Twitter. If you're on Twitter, you can comment too. I see. I know you might be watching on Hall of Fame College Football Twitter. You can comment too. Facebook on the Fanatic, YouTube on Fanatic on Hall of Fame College Football. Man, thank you for everybody stopping by, man. Hog Wild in the building. What's going on? Look at the Arkansas Razorbacks showing up and showing out. Jonathan Thompson is in the building. Wallace, my guy, what's going on in the building? Okay, I see you. I see you. We'll get to some of the actual. I know some of y'all put actual comments in there. We'll get to those a little bit later. How you feeling as the season about to get started, Jason? You muted, my guy. I didn't touch it. You keep hitting your button. I can't unmute you. You gotta unmute yourself.
That one was me. That one was me.
Okay.
No, man, feeling good. Feeling good, man. This is a new day for Oklahoma. You know, it's not Lincoln Riley Sooners anymore. They're not soft. They play with physicality. They got starting in the defense, starting in the trenches. So feel good about it going in. Got a tough schedule, but I like where they're headed.
Right. Tonight, man, we're going to talk about first-year quarterbacks in the SEC. If there's any possible coaching hot seats out there, some contenders, maybe even some pretenders, some games to watch. And we're going to put out our SEC championship game predictions. There we go. We waiting on them. And next up in the building, man, is our guy representing Alabama in the Sharpshooters podcast. Is Brenski Sharpe. What's going on, B Sharp?
What's going on, man?
Hey, man, we here. It just means more.
Oh, man, I was trying to set up, man, and put my background up, man. I'm all the way messed up.
Hey, if you need, you want me to put you backstage so you can get together?
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that. We'll go ahead and handle it as we let's start with an easy one. Actually, I think this is the easy topic: coaching hot seats. I honestly don't know if there is a coach on the hot seat in the SEC. I know some people are gonna, and this is my opinion. This people gonna say Florida and Sunbelt Billy is what other fans call him, Billy Napier, and some people may say Shane Beamer. I think they may have to have some really bad seasons for that to happen. Stat guy, you got a different opinion.
Yeah. Sunbelt Billy isn't on the hot seat. His job is terminated. They're just waiting for the right opportunity to do that. As far as hot seat, I believe Sam Pittman at Arkansas. I believe Arkansas has hired his replacement. And again, that's another one just biding the time, waiting for something to go wrong. Maybe they'll get them a little for calls action and get out of a payday. But I believe those two are probably gone and aren't even hot seat. As far as hot seat, I think depending on how the season goes, Shane Beamer at South Carolina could potentially be on the hot seat heading into 25. I'm also very intrigued with Kentucky and what they do this year. If they were to have a catastrophic year versus what Stoops has done over the past 7 or 8 years. I mean, I'm talking about like if they were to have a 3-9 or 2-10 type season, take like a major step back, I could see the water bubbling in Kentucky. But those are really the only four, in my opinion, that could either play themselves onto the hot seat or already there heading to the unemployment line.
Right. Okay. You know what? And Pittman, he did slip my mind. Pittman, I do think is on the hot seat. I think even Arkansas fans would agree. Shane Beamer and Napier, again, I think it depends on the season. They'd have to have a horrible season or some kind of catastrophic loss during the season for them to be on the hot seat. Shout out to Stephen G, man. Happy birthday, Stephen G. We appreciate you getting in on your birthday, man. Hopefully we can give you some fire content tonight, man, for your birthday. Righty, we got some other people checking in, man. South Texas in the building. What's going on? Soccer Texas says Oklahoma will not win the SEC this decade. I don't know about that one, but that's this decade. What we got? Six more chances. That's a lot. That's
and go figure. He's going to be one of those guys that thinks Texas is going to get out of here.
Yeah, man. So like I say, man, coach of hot seats. Jason, what's your take on it? Like I say, I think everybody thinks Pittman is, but outside of Pittman, I think somebody has to play themselves onto the hot seat.
Yeah, I don't think that Sunbelt Billy goes anywhere unless they win like 3 or 4 games. I think if he gets to 5, 6 wins on the season, they should be good to go.
Right.
And I think that the reason for that is clearly one thing is DJ Lagway. They want to make sure that they get their shot at DJ Lagway. You figure if Billy goes, so does he, because he's probably not going to want to start it all over with. And I don't think that they're as bad as they looked in the last couple of years. You know, a couple of games go one way or the other. You go the other way last year. You know, you got the thicker kicker hitting a 58-yarder against them at home to beat them. You know, a couple of games kind of similar to like that, and it's not exactly the same. They go 6-6 again. As far as Arkansas is concerned, I mean, I'm going to go with what we keep hearing from Woo Pig, old SEC Mo, and I think that he's probably gone, Pittman, but I don't think they're going to replace him with the guy that's already there. I think that probably what happened, if you listen to everybody around there, that probably killed that for him forever being the head coach again. I don't really see that happening. So we'll see what happens, but the rest of them are probably good to go. At least this year. I think you could see some guys get on the hot seat at the end of this season.
Possibly,
yeah. But I don't see them, getting fired.
Okay. We got our boy B Sharpe in the building. Sharpshooters got that fresh Bama background. Coach of hot seats. Other than Pittman, you got anybody on your coach of hot seat?
I don't know how it can be anybody other than Billy Napier, man. He is gone, man. It is no hope for him this year. And I think it's like the worst time for him to be on the hot seat because he easily has the hardest schedule in the country.
Right. He definitely does.
So if only way he'll be able to save his job, he has to win early, like against Miami, which I think is a L. And then I think they play Samford and they play Mississippi State and all them. But once they start to get down to the nitty-gritty, to the Georgias, the Tennessees, the Florida States, I think they play Ole Miss. I'm just like, man, it's just L after L after L, man.
Right.
And I don't know how you can survive it. I just don't know how you can survive it. It's the wrong time for him.
Right, and I know Jason made a good point about DJ Lagway. We'll see if he actually, like I say, we'll see if he actually, can win some of those games. That Miami game may change the tide for him. Like you say, he may play himself off the hot seat. You know what I'm saying? And maybe he beats Miami because we've seen Cristobal screw it up, even though I think top to bottom, Miami got the better team, talent-wise. But
playing in the swamp is no joke.
It's in the swamp, right? It's in the swamp. So it's the first game. They won't be beat up just yet. You know what I'm saying? Right. They won't be beat up just yet. They get Ole Miss at the end of the season. So that's like Brenski said. That's another story. You get Ole Miss at the end of the season. Maybe you even took some losses here and there, and now you're just like, man, I don't even care. You know what I'm saying? At that point, and then you just pile on, because they just don't have a let up. I think, let me tell you, their hardest game, the least hardest game might be UCF, because I don't even know if they play Vandy this year.
I forgot all about that game.
Right, they play all three of the other schools in Florida. They play Florida State, UCF, and Miami. So,
but all those teams have questions too. I mean, it's not like any of them are like guaranteed to do anything. I mean, I know there's talent in Miami. I know there's always talent at Florida State, but I mean, we kind of talked about this on the ACC preview. Is that those guys? I'm not sure what I think about Florida State. I like DJU. I like some of the guys that they brought in, but I'm not sold on them. I mean, when you go and get drugged 63-3 in the Orange Bowl, that tends to have a hangover on you the next year, you know? And then how could you believe in Mario Cristobal? How could you believe it?
I think with Cam Ward, that's I don't think he had a quarterback like that of his caliber. Van Dyke was decent. I never thought he was that guy ever.
Right.
So Cam Ward is a proven guy, let alone he was in the Pac-12. But I believe Cam, whatever conference, he's a good quarterback. So it all depends on how he comes out and play early.
Never underestimate the power of Mario Cristobal to screw something up, man.
Now that I can't defend. I can't defend that. Now, I can't defend that part.
Right.
Because go ahead.
I was going to say, you look at that schedule, though, and there is no Vandy. You have UCF, Mississippi State, and I believe it is Samford, that are their 3 games against teams that aren't preseason top 25. There's nowhere to turn. Like, once they start taking L's, it's not like, oh, we can play Vandy or maybe a Kentucky back-to-back weeks and right the ship and build some momentum back around the program. If they mess around and lose that Mississippi State game early in the year, the wheels are coming all the way off the bus.
Well, if they lose to Mississippi State, that's a bad sign.
That's a bad loss. That's a bad loss.
I think Texas A&M at home, early in that year too. So if they can pick up a win over somebody like that, and they've got them in the top 25 for whatever reason, there's also opportunities for you to turn it the other way, though, Stat.
And maybe that's the case if you're not a horrible football coach that is out of his league.
That could be a fireable defense right there.
I think losing to Mississippi State to have them up in arms, though.
But my prediction is the last game he coaches as Florida's head coach will be in Jacksonville at the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. I believe the dogs are going to put a hurting on him, and that's going to be all she wrote.
So you really think that they would take the chance of losing DJ Lagway that quickly?
Because DJ, you don't. Why put your program? Florida wants to win, whether right or wrong. They still believe that there's Steve Spurrier in the mid '90s, and they should be hanging 50 on everybody's head, whether right or wrong. And because of that mindset, they want to win right now, and you don't risk running your program into the ground for one quarterback. It's not like this is the SEC 10 years ago when South Carolina was winning 10 or 11 games and the SEC was kind of down. It was, you had decent teams, but you didn't have head knockers. In today's SEC, you have 3 to 5 teams every year that believe they're going to win the national championship and don't let you catch all 3 of them on your schedule at one time, or you're going to have a bad year. So when you're a program like Florida that has a championship mentality, whether right or wrong, you have to pull the plug. You can't just keep saying, oh, DJ, because eventually now what happens? You've waited 2 or 3 years. Now you're not recruiting to the level you want to recruit. And now you fire him too late. And now your program's 5 years in the hole instead of 1 or 2 years in the hole.
I think they go into, but to me, I do have them beating Miami, first of all, because they are in the swamp. They should beat Samford. I mean, you could see them beating A&M. Maybe that's a loss there. But at worst, I see them being 3-2 going into Tennessee. I think that keeps them in the kind of position that they're still in good shape. The Tennessee game is in Knoxville. That's probably a loss, but they're at 3-3. You should be able to beat Kentucky at home. And then, yeah. But at worst, you're going to finish the Georgia game at 4-4. That's the way I look at it, is that more than likely you finished out the cocktail party, you're 4-4. Why would they fire you at that point? I just don't see that. And
but I don't. But that's because you think they're 4-4. I don't think they're beating Miami. I don't think they're beating Miami, Kentucky, or Texas A&M. So I have them at
where I'm looking at it at 4-4 would be losing to Miami, losing to Texas A&M, but beating Samford, Mississippi State, Central Florida, and then you might beat Tennessee, probably not, but you could beat Kentucky, and that one's in Gainesville again. Again, you got. How many times does anybody win at the Swamp? I mean,
they've been winning a lot lately.
Actually, Miami doesn't play. They don't. The thing about Miami and Florida, they don't play every year. The last time they was in the Swamp in 2018, I believe they did beat Florida in the Swamp. Even though, like I say, I'm still on the wait and see with Miami.
That's not.
Go ahead, Brenski.
No, my fault. My fault. I was saying that's not a neutral game, neutral
No.
site game.
It's in the swamp.
I did not know that.
Right. It's
Yeah,
in
and
the
I think
swamp.
that early on, I mean,
Mm.
we'll see. We'll see on it. And I mean, maybe you lose that game, but I'm saying even if they lose that one, more than likely, at worst, they're one game below 500 whenever they finish that one. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not over yet. Now they go down the stretch is not is not exactly easy.
Yeah,
But
maybe the powers that be take into
I just don't see
consideration.
him losing his job this year. I just don't.
Yeah, how hard the actual schedule is. Maybe that's they take that into consideration. Even if they finish like a 7-5, maybe 6-6 again. I mean, I think it's all up in the air from there. Stephen G says, "Is the Beamer on the hot seat?" Stat guy said he could be, depending on some things going this season. I think if they make a bowl game 6-6, I don't think he's on the hot seat. That's just me. I think they had a really good recruiting year. For 2024, they're looking at 2025 as well. They got some young talent in. The offensive line that they recruited in 2024 will be a year older, and that's their so-called Great Wall. So I don't think, as long as he goes like 6-6, I think he's good.
So yeah, it was always with what we did in recruiting in 23 and 24, he was always going to get 25. Now, what they do this year obviously will have a major impact on how hot that seat is heading into 25. But I think this year, I think 500 or so is acceptable. In 25, that might not be the case, and they might be looking for 8, 9. They're going to have to see improvement. But I definitely think, depending on how this season goes, we could hear his name on the hot seat, especially with the recruiting trail not going in his favor right now.
Okay. I got you. All right, man. Them coaches on the hot seat, man. We're gonna jump into this next topic. First year starting QBs. Jason is still with us, by the way, y'all. He's just on the audio. But first year starting QBs, not necessarily freshmen, but this will be their first year with the reins in their hands. Just for reference, it's 5 that we know will be starting. Now, Vandy's quarterback could be a first-year starter, but we don't know who's going to win that job at this point. But these are the first-year starters we know about. We got Brock Vandegrift at Kentucky. We got Garrett Nussmeier at LSU. Jackson Arnold at Oklahoma. We got Lenore Sellers. I forgot that S. Sorry about that, Lenore, if you're catching this. South Carolina Gamecocks. And then Nico Iamaleava at Tennessee. So those are our guys, and a lot of them, I got notes about all these guys, man, and they're all in some different situations. So we'll let stat guy and Jason start this off, because me and Brenski represent teams that bring back quarterbacks that are according to media outlets, are in the Heisman race and in the race to be in like top 5 in the draft. So stat. You got Lenore Sellers, man. Give us your rundown on Dolores.
Yeah, so man, the fan base down in Columbia is excited. Can't give us an inch. We're gonna take a mile. But it's gonna be one of those things where expectations unrealistic for a redshirt freshman. And that's the one thing I worry about. I think whatever he does this year will be fine. But I think from the fan base standpoint, I wonder if what they're hoping to see from him is too high. And that could be the one negative as far as local media and the fan base as a whole. But look, man, we've struggled to move the football on the ground for the last 3 years. Lenoris is every bit of 6'3", 6'4", 240, and moves like Cam Newton back in the day. We're going to the read option. I don't foresee us having an issue running the football this year. Can he throw the ball good enough? And will we find the weapons for him to actually throw the football too? We lost our entire wide receiver room last year. So that'll be the big thing, is behind an offensive line that will be young and will need to gel together early on, a rebuilt running back room and a rebuilt wide receiver room. So there's a lot of question marks that are out of his control. But as far as just like raw talent and physical, natural God-gifted ability, man, he checks all the boxes. I just hope that the fan base doesn't put him on a pedestal that he can't reach his freshman year.
Okay, that's good. Good info. Good info. We're gonna circle back and kind of compare some of the stuff for all these quarterbacks. I'm gonna let Jason get in here. He's another got OU has another one of those first year starting quarterbacks, not first year on the team, but first year with the reins in his hand. Jason, give us a rundown, man, on Jackson. Before you do, we got Chicken in here. Appreciate Chicken on the Hall of Fame college football, giving a $20 super chat. Says Boomer Sooners in the playoffs. Shout out to Chicken. All right, yeah, go ahead and give us a rundown on just what you think about Jackson Arnold first year.
I like Jackson, man. He had a couple of hiccups in that bowl game. They had a patchwork offensive line completely there. You had guys that had been playing all year that just weren't there. Along with that, your offensive coordinator left. So there was some differences, but as many things, he had those turnovers, but he also had about 400 passing yards and a couple of big time throws for touchdowns as well. So he showed some good things. He showed some things that you don't want to see. But I do think that when you start looking at spring games, there's only so much that you can take from it. I don't really care about however many touchdowns you had or whatever. What I liked that I saw from him in the spring game was that there were times that he probably could have forced something or taken off. He had good pocket presence, and he threw the ball away a few times. In fact, out of his incompletions in the spring game, I think 4 of them were throwing him out of bounds. So, you get a little bit of pressure. The defense is kind of tightened up in that situation. Instead of, eating it for a sack or throwing an interception, throwing it into traffic, he throws it out of bounds. So that tells you that, he took a step forward in that aspect. And that was just, by spring. Everything that you've heard out of training camp so far is that he looks great. He's got all the physical tools, man. There's a reason why he was a 5-star plus Gatorade Player of the Year for high school, coming out. And this is in a class that had Dante Moore and Arch Manning and some of these Nico Iamaleava as well. He was in that same class. So he came out and he was National High School Player of the Year. There's a reason for it. So I think that Oklahoma's excited about him. They've got a lot of weapons for him to throw to in that receiving room. You got some really nice running backs as well. And I think that the offensive line talk is a lot overblown, if you ask me. So I like it. I think he's going to have a good year.
Good info on both of those quarterbacks, man. And just to remind y'all again, those are 2 of the new first-year quarterbacks. You got Brock Vandegrift also at Kentucky, Garrett Nussmeier, who backed up Heisman winner Jaden Daniels last year, and of course Nico at Tennessee, man. And again, we're going to talk about all these guys. What I would so stat with Sellers, man, you got Harbor, who's a physical freak. You know what I'm saying? You got Mazio Bennett Jr., 4-star wide receiver. But you guys lost a lot. Xavier Legette, draft pick. Everybody knows about him. Everybody knows Juice. Some of the South Carolina players taking a shot at him being at Ole Miss. And then you had a whole bunch of guys hit the portal. You guys needed bodies, regardless of the talent level, you guys needed bodies. So with that, with the offensive line, and you say you guys are changing up the offense, all of that plays a part, you know what I'm saying? So how do you feel with all of those, characteristics surrounding Lenoir's?
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing, right? Is it's not really question marks surrounding what he can do with his physical tools. It's what he has around him where the question marks are. Who's going to step up in the wide receiver room? Do we see vast improvement from Nick Harbor? Do we see a freshman like Mazio Bennett Jr. have a breakout year as a freshman in the SEC? Or do we see a guy like Jaylen Brown, the transfer from Coastal, come in and make an impact? The one thing that I think helps him the most is, as bad as we've looked in the passing game last year, with that room kind of being hurt with injuries, people then transferring and everything, we haven't ran the ball well at all for 3 years. Right. And you go and add a host of running backs from the portal, led by Rocket Sanders from Arkansas and Oscar from North Texas. On top of that, with as great as Spencer was for South Carolina, he wasn't going to beat anybody with his feet. And Lenoir is a real threat within the running game. And so I think being able to run the football should hopefully ease some of that up and allow him some time to find some guys. It's just what will the playmakers do for him? Because that room has talent in it. It's just all unproven.
Yep, that's correct. In the running game, that's a good point. You had Marshawn Lloyd a couple of years ago for Spencer's first year, but he was kind of hurt, not hurt. We don't know what went on. He wasn't getting the ball, whatever it was. Now you got a proven guy in Rocket Sanders, supposedly, looking to be 100% this year. That will help. Running game always helps a new quarterback. Always. Like, I don't care what school you're at. If you got a running game, that can help the quarterback take pressure off of him. But one thing I like about Lenoris is he got the legs. When you're young and you can't read the defense and you don't see nobody open, you could always take off, especially if you play in a team that likes to play a lot of man-to-man with their backs turned, with the receivers down in downfield, deep routes and stuff like that. So same thing for you, Jason. I got a couple questions. Like I know you said the offensive line to you isn't a concern, but it is 5 new faces as far as the offensive line is concerned, as far as starting at OU, you know what I'm saying? And then you got a new OC who's been in the program, but new to OC, for Oklahoma. In Jackson Arnold's bowl game, he had a lot of positives, and then he had some negatives. He had taking care of the ball, I would say. You know what I'm saying? So with all of that said, do you think that plays a part? And road games, we'll talk about some of the road games for some of these guys too. So.
Yeah, no, I think that obviously he's got something to prove. There's plenty to prove for anybody in their first year starting, no matter what league you're in. I think that's clear. What I would tell you offensive line wise, Jacob Sexton was the starter towards the end of the year last year. And in fact, he was starting in front of the guy that ended up going in the first round, Tyler Guyton. And there was some talk about Guyton was hurt, but there was also some talk about the fact that Jacob Sexton was just better at that point.
Right.
He also looked really good as a true freshman against Florida State's number 1 guy that went in the first round last year as well too. So Jacob Sexton's not really a new guy to the lineup. Some of these guys that are coming in now, you do have some portal entrants. If you look at that, you've got a guy in Michael Tarquin that was a freshman All-American at Florida. He certainly didn't look as good at USC last year. There's probably some reasons behind that. Like the yoga instructor. But as far as his strength and conditioning coach for yoga instructor, but we'll see what happens with him. You've got a guy you bring in, a center out of SMU who was he was an all-conference guy, a guy that they really wish that they could have kept around. But I also think that the biggest thing for Oklahoma is it's not necessarily that all the guys that you brought in. If you look at starts for the offensive linemen in the room now, they actually have more starts there than Georgia has on their O-line, than Texas has on their O-line, than Alabama has on their O-line, and more than Ohio State has on theirs. Do you have to meld it together? Sure you do. But you also have arguably the best offensive line coach in the country in Bill Bedenbaugh. He has more guys in the NFL than any offensive line coach in the country. That's why you don't really concern yourself with that if you're an Oklahoma fan. I understand that it's new guys in the room, but if you know anything about Oklahoma over the last 3 or 4 years, they've been using a lot of transfer guys on the offensive line anyway. So it kind of is what it is. It's one of those deals where you don't get too concerned about it. There is enough depth there. They've got 17, 18 guys that they believe in on that offensive line that they can get in there and play championship football. Now, again, you got to come in there and prove that. But, I mean, these are the questions that we have or that you're hearing everybody else have about Oklahoma are really questions that most Oklahoma fans shouldn't be concerned about. I mean, we've seen brand new quarterbacks come in and really be good for Oklahoma in the past. It's happened quite often. Offense didn't live and die with Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma either. So that's not something I'm too concerned about. Now, do you have to get in there and hold on and take care of the football? Sure. But I also think that in view of the fact that I believe this defense is going to be as good as anybody in the conference, gives him a way that he doesn't have to go out there and win a bunch of games for you. He doesn't have to go out there. If you're Jackson Arnold, you just got to take care of the football. You got to rely on the guys that you have in the backfield. You got to rely on the guys that you have in your receiving room, which again is very deep. Don't make a bunch of silly throws. Do the things like I was talking about before. Throw the ball away if you nothing's there. Don't give a turnover.
There you go. Some good stuff, Brenski. Okay, go ahead, Stat.
Yeah, I was gonna say my one thing I'd bring up to that though with the offensive line. I know y'all brought in guys from the portal that have starts elsewhere. To me, there's just a difference in having 3 or 4 guys that have 30 plus starts together as a unit versus guys that have 30 or 40 starts in their career elsewhere. It takes a lot. I mean, it's new terminology, new system. And that's going to be the key is those first couple weeks, them gelling together before y'all get into the thick of y'all schedule. Luckily, you don't start off with a headhunter early in the year within like those first 2 weeks, like a Michigan or anything like that, like y'all's on travel, which is going to help. But it's just them gelling together, and can they become a cohesive unit?
Right.
Again, I would tell you that they can. It's Bill Beaton.
We're not saying that they can't, but like, I get that they got more starts than everybody, but they all have starts not with the other 4. That's the thing that I think he's pointing out. It's different. Like if you guys had a guard and a tackle coming back, and then you replace 3 other guys that had all those starts, it might look a little different because you got 2 guys that's already gelled. Like it has to be that cohesion. And like we said for other teams, and this goes for Alabama, Georgia, whoever takes transfers outside of Clemson and the military academies, we hope that they can produce like they produced at their previous spot.
One thing I would say about that, though, is those guys that are transfers aren't even necessarily the starters, though. One thing we do know about Bill Beaton, he doesn't give a spot to anyone, nobody. Right. You got to come in and be that guy. If they're worse with you in there, if the mix is worse, you're not going to be the guy. You're not going to be the guy. They've even actually talked about Joshua Bates, who's a redshirt freshman, maybe going in front of the guy they brought in to play center. So the possibilities are, you're just going to have to kind of wait and see what it is. To me, they're going to put the best mix of guys in the game. So again, that's why I feel the way I feel about it.
Right, definitely. So I'm interested to see, how it looks at the beginning of the season with, again, my personal thing, replacing a center, replacing a quarterback, and replacing an OC all in the same year, how they all go in line, because the center has to call the protections for the line, the quarterback has to read the defenses and help with the protections, and the OC has to be able to, give the plays that's good enough for the guys. So, on to another one of those guys, Nico Iamaleava at Tennessee, 3rd Saturday in October. Brenski, that's always reserved for Bama and Tennessee. What's your thoughts on him? He got Brew McCoy and Squirrel White coming back. I would say he has a quarterback-friendly offense. O-line looks to be, senior laden. You know what I'm saying? Look good in the bowl and the spring game.
Yeah, that's what you expected out of him. Him being a 5-star quarterback, and they already had a high expectations for him. Even I have, and I think he's by next year we'll be talking about. I don't know about this year with him Heisman, but he gonna be one of those guys you're talking about Heisman, because with his arm and his feet, he's very accurate. And with those guys coming back, especially with Squirrel, I think him and Squirrel are going to put up big numbers this year. We're going to see how that defense turn out. Then you got Mike Matthews coming out of Atlanta. I was a big fan of
me too.
Mike Matthews coming out. So we're going to see how much he plays this year. So we're going to see.
Well, Bama faces 3 of these new quarterbacks. Actually, 4. Only one they don't face is Brock Vandagriff at Kentucky. They face Arnold at Oklahoma. They get them in Oklahoma. Y'all face. You got to go. You got to play Nussmeier. Nussmeier's I would say he's definitely a first-year starter, but he's been around for a while. Of course, playing behind Daniels. Then you play Iamaleava at Tennessee. So hey, they definitely all of those guys are gonna get a lot of work with that Bama defense.
I was saying Nussmeier got we had a little preview with him with Jaden Daniels going out last year in the game.
And in the SEC championship in 2022 when the Dogs was up. I mean, but still he came in and looked good when in that SEC championship.
Yeah, but that's when I felt like they had more weapons then. But now
They did.
I don't even know about this coming season. You lose that much talent. They just acting like Brian Kelly and them just gonna just pick up and just continue doing what they was doing. I'm like, no, that's not gonna happen. And especially with Brian Kelly being the most overrated coach in college football, in my opinion. Yeah, man. I don't know why they have him. And I believe Kirby's number one in the conference right now, but I don't know why they always put Brian Kelly as number 2. I don't know why. That's always just like irritated me.
So I got a question for you, Brenski. Out of the four first year starters that y'all play in, if you could see one of them beating Bama, who would you give the best shot to pull the upset, knock off the Tide?
Nico in Tennessee, Arnold in OU, Sellers South Carolina, and Nussmeier LSU.
I can see 2. It all depends on with Nico.
Because that's at Tennessee. That's at Tennessee.
And we play both of the games that I'm talking about is definitely on the road. Yep. And for him, it's just the weapons that he has there, the scheme, and our secondary being young. That scares me a little bit. The only thing that worried me about our team is just the secondary. If we could have kept a couple of those guys, I wouldn't be worried. But it all depends on how they gelled and you going into a hostile environment. In Tennessee, that can be a possible upset, and I wouldn't even call it an upset. It would just be a good win by them. And then also, it all depends on Jackson Arnold. We got them late. Only reason I say that because he's gonna go through all the bumps and bruises through the SEC so far, and he's getting us towards the end, so he can be probably in a groove then. Then he's at home, and then all that. But we'll see. Now, if we had him at home, I'd be like, oh no, I wouldn't be worried. But it's just how he's going through this. I think we are their second to last game, so he's going to be pretty much be in a rhythm by that point.
Yep. Yeah,
well,
that's a good call.
Just so you know, you need to be worried when Lenoir comes to town. You're going to get nightmares of Cam Newton back in town.
Hey man, it sounds good.
Listen, man. All of these guys.
Gotta see it.
That's a big statement right there.
That's what I said, man. Even Coach our nephew gonna be in there, man. So
yeah,
hopefully he can play a little bit.
Word out of camp is he's getting the most reps at wide receiver at the slot. So I think he's definitely in the 2 deep, my nephew, at South Carolina. I think he might. They needed bodies. They needed bodies, dog. They needed bodies. And he's a route technician, great hands. So
let's just hope we don't have them hands that day. Tell them leave them at home. We don't need them that day. Have a great year, but don't come there that day.
Right, but you brought up a good point. Playing Tennessee and Nico on the road, playing Jackson on the road, 2 places that are hostile environments. OU doesn't lose a lot at home, just like Bama and Georgia. And then if you look at all the quarterbacks, like Nussmeier plays at Florida, Arkansas, A&M, and South Carolina. All teams which they probably will be favored over. I'm not saying they're going to beat them, but they'll probably be favored over. Sellers plays on the road at Bama, OU, and Clemson as far as, heavy hitters. Arnold plays on the road at Auburn, Ole Miss, Missouri, and LSU to end the season, which is probably going to be a night game. Right. Nico plays on the road at OU, Arkansas, and UGA, and then a neutral site against North Carolina State, the second game of the season. And then Vandergrift, I think, probably has the hardest. I mean, they all are hard, but like Vandergrift plays at Ole Miss, at Florida, at Tennessee, at Texas, and also gets UGA in the 3rd game of the season. And he got Barry and Brown and Dane Key, but he's got a new offensive coordinator. They got a new running back. Ray Davis is off to the NFL. The coordinator's from Boise State. I think he's in I ain't gonna say. I'm gonna say worst position of the five. Let's just say that. I know LSU has a new core of wide receivers, but if we've seen anything over the years at LSU, they recruit wide receivers. That's just.
They
I
have
don't know. I don't know where they be getting them from, but they be getting.
they've got a factory down there somewhere in the swamp that they go down there and pick them up from every year.
Right. So out of all of those guys, I guess kind of Jason rank those guys. I mean, you taking in talent, upside, weapons around them, the offense that they're in, the protection that they may have, and the schedule as well. Like, who do you say? Like, rank them 1 to 5.
Talent around them. I don't think that there's out of the new guys. There's nobody close to Oklahoma's because of the receiving room plus the guys that you have in the backfield. Protection wise, you want to make that argument about them being new. You could probably do that. Although I think
so rank them. I just said using those characteristics, rank them. Just put them all in a bowl and then rank them.
I think that if we're talking, put the list back up there real quick, Coach.
All right, we'll do. Let me.
I think if you're looking at it, you probably. I mean, man, I like Lenore Sellers a lot just from what he has. Right. I mean, I think that he's just that dynamic kind of kid. I don't know about Cam Newton, but I think he's dynamic. Right. Garrett Nussmeier definitely has a great he's got a great offensive line in front of him. I don't know what they have as far as receivers, but I suspect that they probably have something. So I'd probably go with Nuss, probably number one out of the new guys, and then
because of the experience.
Because of his experience that he does have, and then maybe it's probably Jackson and Nico, 2 and 2A, and then I would go with Lenoris after that, and then Brock. I don't know, because I just don't know what. I know that they probably got something for him there at Kentucky, but we hadn't seen anything out of him. You just hadn't seen him do anything, and everything I've heard out of you guys tells me that he's not great. So I think that when you look at the dynamic ability of Lenore Sellers, I'd probably put him in front of there. And I don't know how far I have him behind Nico and Jackson for that matter.
Right. Raw ability puts him up there with him, right?
Definitely.
Right. Stat guy, 1 through 5, how you ranking the first year starters with all those characteristics being taken into account?
Man, look, I can't call my man Cam Newton and not put him number 1. So go ahead and give me my quarterback. I'm gonna be on my TO walk tonight. That's my quarterback, man. It's my quarterback. Give me Lenoris at number 1. Give me Nussmeier at number 2. Give me Nico at number 3, and give me Brock at number 4. And Jackson Owen can be that at number 5. And the only reason I have it that way is because I think the expectations at Kentucky aren't as high, and him going 4 or 5 wins there will be fine. Whereas when Jackson Arnold only wins 5 or 6 games at Oklahoma this year, their fan base is going to be in an outrage.
Okay. Brenski, 1 through 5, man. Taking everything in consideration, their personal talent and upside, the weapons around them, because that matters. Offense, the protection, and the schedule. Those road games means a lot in your first year in the SEC.
So 1 being who has the easiest,
or who you think will have the better season, or has. Just when you put it all together, you know what I'm saying?
I got Nico, Jackson, Brock.
Okay.
Nussmeier. I'm gonna say Nussmeier, then Seller.
Okay. You are a little bit higher on Brock, I think, than us. I think.
I just think just because Kentucky, because you don't have that much pressure.
Oh, that's
on you, and then your schedule is kind of favorable,
right?
And the teams that you're going to be playing against, like the Missouris and all that, who really doesn't have that type of good secondary. You play in Florida. I think y'all play South Carolina. No disrespect, that guy. Yeah, but so you just get those type of teams, and he's supposed to be a 5-star quarterback. We're just gonna see.
Right. All of these guys were 4 and 5-star. Brock, Jackson, Lenore, and Iamaleava were all 5 stars coming out in their respective classes. And Brenski, that's a good point. Brock has the least amount of pressure out of all of these quarterbacks, if I would say so myself. If I was ranking them, I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go with Nico at number 1 just because he got 2 of his top 3 receivers coming back. He has probably the most quarterback-friendly offense out of all of these guys. His O-line is, I want to say, they return 4 to 5 starters. Their road games is OU, Arkansas, and UGA. So really, 2 of them, OU and UGA. You know what I'm saying? So when you put all of that together, I go with Nico. I probably have Gus, Nussmeier, and Jackson kind of right there together. I think Jackson has better weapons for sure. But Nussmeier has done it. Nussmeier has done it a little bit more than Jackson. So I will put them right there too. I guess 2A, 2B, whatever you want to call it. And then Lenoris and then Brock. I know Brock doesn't have any pressure, but I've seen Brock a little bit in person in practice, and I've seen him in some mop-up. I don't like his throwing motion. I think he's a really good athlete, but I don't think he's the 5-star that he was built to be, you know what I'm saying, coming out of high school. So that's just what I would think. Anybody got anything else about these first-year quarterbacks before we move on to the next category?
I got just a little bit, only because I know Jason's not going to bring it up. Only thing I worry about Jackson Arnold. Well, I'm not even worried about it with Jackson Arnold. But
I thought I won't bring it up, huh?
Yeah, I know you ain't gonna bring it up because I keep trying to tell Jason when they go down to Jordan-Hare Stadium, he doesn't believe that lucky rabbit's foot that they have in Jordan-Hare. They just don't want to believe it. I like, man, I don't care how good you think those guys are. When it comes to big time games, they just try to make it difficult. It can be. We seen how they my fault. How they play against New Mexico State. They just lay an egg. But for them Georgias and Alabama game, you seen how they you think they got 5 stars all over the place.
Right.
So that's one thing.
Go ahead.
I just think
the road, you talking about like the road games, that hostile environment. I think that's the thing for all of these quarterbacks. All of these quarterbacks got at least 2 games, if not more, where they're going into hostile environments early in the season and where their team may be better than the other team, but playing on the road and, it's going to be hectic. I want to shout out all the people in the comments. I actually am starring a lot of y'all comments, questions that I think once we get to that particular section, I'm going to recall them. So keep coming with the comments and the questions. Hog Wild did say that Taylor Green, he's a first-year starter in the SEC like some other people, but he's not a first-year starter. These guys that we're talking about right now are
shout out to my guy, man.
Right, SEC Mo at the Hog Wild podcast. That's right. Mo. These guys are legit first-year starters. Maybe started in the bowl game, but that's about it, and they haven't actually started for anybody else. Stat guy.
Let me. You
was about to say something, Stat guy?
Go ahead.
No.
Oh, my bad.
I was gonna say the only thing I was gonna add is week 2 we get to see 2 of these guys go head to head with Brock and Lenoris, which is a make or break game for both teams if they're trying to make a bowl game. So I think as far as the individual head to head matchup, because we'll see a bunch of these guys match up head to head, but I think that's probably the one I'm most looking forward to because it's kind of make or break for both team seasons.
Right. Now, good question from Senator Tactics. I'll skip the name calling, but what makes you SEC guys think Auburn is going to get up for Oklahoma like they do for UGA and Bama? I'll let Brenski get in on it because he's Bama, I'm Georgia.
And then I want to respond to that too, though, after you get done. Go ahead.
Right. So this is the thing. So if you go back and check the last 20 years, they haven't beat Bama a lot, but they have beat Bama in some times when they weren't supposed to beat Bama. And even there are some times when they haven't beat Bama in Jordan-Hare now. When they go to Alabama, it's always a blowout, pretty much. Now, in Jordan-Hare, they've given them a game when they wasn't supposed to. Like, if you check the 4 and 5 star rankings, Ohio State's number 1, Alabama's number 2, and Georgia's number 3. That's every year. So when you look at the talent, the coaching, things of that you got the Sabans, you got Kirby, and you can look at sometimes when LSU has gone to Auburn. Speaking of the almighty 2019 game between LSU and Auburn, go back and check it.
Yeah.
Auburn was way out talented, and they don't get up for New Mexico State because I just think there's some different mentality going on in Auburn, that when a ranked team who they're not supposed to be, OU will be favored in that game. And that's when you have the problems in Jordan Hare. When the team comes in with the OU's, I think OU's the better team. I think OU will be favored. And that's what like Brenski and me and some of these guys are saying about the Auburns. Like, if you check the record between Georgia and Auburn, they've only beat us 3 times in like the last 20 years. But like last year, we should have blown them out. But they got up for us because it was at Jordan Hare. Had that same game been in Athens, probably would have been a blowout, to be honest with you. I just, you know, that's just what it is.
Matter of fact,
that's my take on it.
Matter of fact, the year when we met up in the national championship game,
Auburn beat both of us. Auburn beat both of us
in some legendary game.
In Jordan Hare, by the way, in Jordan Hare. But then when we played them in the SEC championship,
they also lost to UCF.
Right, right, Jason. That's our point. It's like they're the thing about Auburn is they're inexplainable. They're inexplicable. That's what it is.
Oh yes, it is explainable. They got that lucky rabbit's foot, and they just won't let it go.
No, Jason,
and I've said this a bunch too, but I'm not expecting Oklahoma to go through this thing and be undefeated all year. So just so we understand that, and that especially in road games and stuff like that. So if I feel like the road games, I'm actually probably more concerned with a couple of the home games than I am some of these road games. But I would tell you that one of the ones that I'm concerned about the most would be Auburn. The other one would be LSU. You know, and because both of those places have proven to be one of the, you know, among the toughest places in the country to play. I know that LSU's got like a 77% win percentage at home.
Right.
And I think that Auburn is kind of right below that, maybe at like 73, 74 if I went back and looked at it.
Right.
So we know that it's going to be a tough place to play. And I by all means, I don't expect Oklahoma to go through unbeaten and unscathed in any of them. I would say that, you know, some of the games that you're more concerned about, it'd be like Alabama at home. And then even Tennessee at home. And to be honest with you, I get a little bit concerned about South Carolina because of where it comes. It's between Texas and Ole Miss.
Could be a sleeper game. One of those games that if you peak the wrong way and you've got a guy like Lenore Sellers that's going to be dynamic as he is, not to mention, you know, one of the fastest guys in the entire world playing receiver for you. Right.
You know, that's a concern. So it's one of those games that you're going to have to make sure that you don't overlook anybody in that one. Right.
Right. Chicken makes a good comment, says, consider that SEC. This goes for any conference, by the way. We look at games where you like, well, why can Maryland play Michigan tough or in a given year? You know, when they do, it's because they play them every single year, and it's easier to. And you know them. And Chicken says the teams in the SEC don't know Oklahoma. Now, Chicken, I will say that goes both ways. Oklahoma doesn't know majority. They know a little bit about Tennessee. They played them a couple of times over the last like decade or so. But for the most part, that's a two-way street.
New staff, yeah.
Right, two-way street. So good comments, man. Like I say, y'all keep them coming. I'm starring them as they go. Chicken had another sub said Brian Kelly is definitely most overrated. Sorry, Chicken, I don't know if I missed that or not when you first put it in. He said Brian Kelly is most definitely overrated. So that's Stink Ass Cat, my bad. Stink Ass Cat. So yeah. So that's that question. Let's see before we move on. Now we'll get to that one later. Now this is earlier we was talking about Arkansas and coaches on the hot seat. Woo Pig said he think he was going with 6-6 initially for Arkansas, but he's leaning now more towards 8-4. Okay. All right. Got you. Also says, believe it or not, I'm really going to keep an eye on Mizzou. I feel like this year will be their statement year for the Tigers following the season last year. Trust me, if they have the season that they had last year, it will be a statement because I don't think a lot of people think it's going to go as good, even if it could go good. I don't know about as good as last year. So there's that. Let's talk about some contenders and pretenders, and then we'll save our SEC championship game predictions till the end. But let's talk about some people that could be contenders and some that may be pretenders because they're getting a lot of hype or something. Stat guy, contenders and pretenders.
Yeah, so for my contenders, obviously the Georgias, Texas, Alabamas of the world, but the other teams that I kind of put in that are going to be the Ole Misses, Missouri.
Okay.
Ole Miss and Missouri are probably the next two that I add into that list. I think as far as pretenders go, really the only one that I see being in that list is Tennessee. I'm not as high on them as I think other people are. I think they take a step back this year with Nico. I think it'll take a year or two. And obviously their defensive mentality is we're just going to outscore you. So that kind of scares me a little bit. That puts a lot of pressure on your quarterback, even when you're in a very friendly offense for a quarterback. So Tennessee is probably by far my biggest pretender.
All right. Brenski, take a stab at that, man. Contenders and maybe some pretenders that everybody else is kind of high on.
Like that guy said, you got your Alabamas and your Georgias. I would even give Texas some love. Sorry, Jason. I give Texas some love. Pretenders, it's always Auburn. It's always gonna be forever Auburn because they think they're getting a little recruiting class. That thing that means something. You guys also have to develop them, but that's a whole nother case.
Right.
Another pretender. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank right now.
Tennessee or Mizzou?
I think Mizzou is a pretender right now.
Okay.
They're gonna have to show me.
They can
It's
do
a
it
lot
back to back. They can do it back to back, right?
I don't see it. The last time I remember seeing this is when Jeremy Macklin and what's my boy name? The quarterback.
You was talking about
Chase Daniels. Chase
yeah.
Daniels. That was a long time ago. I was in high school. How long ago that was? I don't see it having back-to-back years. But they have a lot of guys up there. So we're going to see, but I think they pretenders right now.
Right. They got Theo East coming back for his COVID redshirt year, I think it is. And then he got Luther Burton, who I consider definitely one of the front runners for the Biletnikoff. The question is, can they replace Cody Schrader? Cody Schrader, I think, was like a former, 1,600 yards. And I think he's like a former walk-on or Division II player or something. But he just came out of nowhere and was running over everybody, including Georgia in Athens. That's why they stayed in the game with us. We was able to corral the passing game, but something about that doggone Schrader, man, that dude was he was a hard-nosed runner. So it's going to be interesting to see with Mizzou. Jason, contenders and pretenders.
Contenders, UGA. I think Alabama, I'm not ready to write them off yet, even though they've got a new coach and you're replacing the GOAT. Not ready to write them off. I think they'll probably be a little bit better as far as offensively is concerned. Although I do think that there's some concerns with your receiving core. You've got 4 guys that have caught a ball in college football. So we got to kind of wait and see where they are. But I do think they're contenders. Oklahoma's a contender, and I do believe that Ole Miss is probably still a contender. Pretenders, it's simple. Texas, Mizzou, and LSU.
Either
LSU.
Either LSU is a pretender. Okay.
I do think that LSU is in a situation that they didn't pick up the guys that they needed to pick up on the defensive side. I think that they added the right guys as coaches on that side of the football. But I think that you got a bunch of youth there and a bunch of guys that probably wouldn't start many places in the SEC on the defensive line. So I think that that's trouble for them. Offensively, I think they're going to be fine, but I don't know what they do defensively. And if you're not considerably better, and if you think that the offense takes even a small step back, how are they really contenders to go to the playoff?
Right, because they wasn't contenders last year, right? You
right.
know what I'm saying? So it's like and I'm with you on that. I think that's a good point. Last year we saw one of the best seasons from a quarterback, since Burrow, to be honest with you. And then he put up some crazy numbers and they still really wasn't in the runnings at all. So I'm kind of with that.
Than Burrow put up, right? I mean, all overall.
Yeah. Right. So I'm like, I think LSU is definitely in that boat. I think you got Alabama, Georgia, I'm going to say Texas Ole Miss as my, contenders. But pretenders is like, I think some people fall in the middle with no name, no title. They might have a shot to be in the contender or could end up being a pretender. But I think pretenders to me are Tennessee and LSU. I don't know. I don't see Tennessee handling I like Nico, and I'm with Brenski. I think going into 2025, he'll be a Heisman candidate, like legit Heisman, not just somebody that makes the list. But I just they haven't shown me on a consistent basis that they could beat the Alabamas, the Georgias, those kind of teams. So they lost. I want to say lost a real bad one to Mizzou last year at Mizzou. So
a big one. Yeah, they got thumped.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then 2 years ago when they had Hendon Hooker, who was a much, much better quarterback than Milton, they went to Columbia, South Carolina, and got walloped. So it's like those kind of things keep me from putting them in like a contender status. So some of the people getting in says Timothy says Tennessee is a contender. Okay. Chris, who you repping, Chris? Appreciate you getting in, my man.
Tennessee guy is what it looks like.
Okay, he said, well, he talked about Bama too, so it must be right. He said he thinks Oklahoma is pretenders. He said Brian Harsin 2.0 at Bama.
I really want to know what's his team, and I hope it's not Tennessee.
Right. Mike Dub says Texas is pretenders. Right. He's an Auburn fan. Okay. Timothy says LSU
No wonder.
pretender. Chris is Auburn. Okay, War Eagles in the building. I got you. Got the best QB in the SEC. Who is that, Landon? Who has the best QB in the SEC? One bad season for Oklahoma, and we become Vandy. Is that somewhat?
Yeah, he's talking
what
about
other people saying? Okay, I got you. Nico gonna show y'all what he made of. I think Nico's good. I do. I mean, I thought Henry Hooker was good. I mean, he played good.
It was really good.
Well, but hang on real quick. He might have the best season of the 5 first-year starters, but he is not the best quarterback in the SEC. That guy lives in Athens, Georgia. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
Wait a minute now. Wait a minute now. I'm just gonna say wait a minute. I'm just gonna say wait a minute. I'm just gonna say wait a minute. That's all I'm gonna say.
My only question is who taught Jalen Milroe how to throw a football?
Oh, don't worry. Yeah, I can tell you that whole throwing motion look a whole lot different right now. And listen, I can tell you, I want to see if he can throw when there's no Lad McConkey and no Brock Bowers. Now, it was a lot of games that he didn't have them, but it was a lot of games that were winnable too. Now, with Ra Thomas, praying for you, brother. Guys like that not on the team. Now, easily the most weakest spot on that team is wide receiver, without a doubt.
It's not. Easily, it's not.
You don't think so?
It's really not.
What position?
On our team, I would have to say it's probably totally DB because Malachi is one safety. Everett is another safety. Another corner. But on the other side, we don't have a returning starter at the other safety spot, and we don't have a lot of experience snaps-wise at all at the corner spot. Now, we got talent there, and I got some guys I think going to do it. But when it comes to receivers, if we're using that same thing, like we got Kobe Young. So Kobe Young actually, I feel like Ra was going to be integral to our production this year, but I feel like overall Kobe is better. We still got Dominic Leverett still from last year. We still got the all you can do everything Dylan Bell. He's shown that time and time again. We still got Arian Smith. We took the best wide receiver that Vandy could have with all the speed in London Humphreys. We took Michael Jackson III from USC. And we're not going to talk about the freshman and all that, but we got Anthony Evans who's backing up Leverett in the slot. While Ra Thomas, I felt like was gonna have a good season. He didn't necessarily do it. It took him a while to kind of get acclimated to the offense last year, which is why Kobe Young probably won't be starting this year because he got to learn the offense. But like with Arian Smith, Dominic Leverett, Arian Smith is actually the fastest wide receiver in college football. Only by 1/100th of a second, but he actually is the fastest wide receiver. And we've seen how in the playoffs nobody can handle that speed going seam routes. So I don't think it's the weakest position for sure. Because while people like Carson threw for 4,000 yards last year, what you got to see is you got to see ESPN highlights from Brock Bowers. You got to see ESPN highlights from Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey was our third leading receiver. Dominic Leverett actually had just as many receiving yards almost as Brock, just as many catches, just as many yards per catch, more. And then Raucous Rosemary Saint last year, who people's gonna stop not respecting my guy, who's off to the NFL now, but he had a better season than Ladd. He just didn't have the highlights that Ladd had. If you go back and look at third downs, he was actually the guy, him and Dominic Leverett, to catch those third down passes when Brock.
But at the same time, them guys were hurt though. A good portion of the season.
And to that point, when people say, well, what we're going to look like without him, Ladd didn't play in 5 games last year.
And see, that was my point with that. I said it was games that they didn't play in, but at the same time, those games were winnable games. It ain't like you needed those guys. But this is a whole year you got to go through it. It got to be new guys that step up. I believe y'all got to y'all tight end room is great. I give you that. So
what else?
So to that, when Stat Guy said Beck was the best quarterback, and you was like, wait a minute about Miro. Let's say I'm gonna agree with you and say that his throwing motion has changed. He's gonna be better. But with that said, I'm gonna throw in your other point. Who's he throwing the ball to?
Throwing to Kendrick Law, Kobe Prentice.
And what did any of those guys do last year?
They wasn't the top guys.
That's what I'm saying. So to your
Alabama, bro. 4.
Say that again, Jason.
4 guys have caught footballs in college football at Alabama, bro.
See, that's what I'm saying. So the same thing you're using against saying that, oh, well, I got to see him do it without Beck. I need to see if Miro can do it, first of all, which, I'm agreeing with you. The throwing motion looked like it has changed. But none of those guys have any type of production like the production in the UGA room. That's what I'm saying.
It was pretty much like that for the last couple of years. We didn't really have nobody like the wide receivers.
Isaiah Bond?
Isaiah wasn't even. It's many games that Isaiah was not the top guy. We thought Malik Benson was going to be that guy, like the number one guy.
I don't think Isaiah Bond was the best guy in their room either, for sure.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, man. A lot of guys.
Even with that said, that experience is gone.
I wouldn't even call it experience. It was like his. It was like, a returning guy, yes, but it was still his first year really starting last year. A lot of those guys was like starting their first year. It ain't like we got the Jerry Judys, the Devontae Smith, and all those guys walking in the room, but they coming in that next year. Don't worry about that. But that's beside the point. Right. But I believe we have the best quarterback in the conference, and it will be proven. I don't think when the Georgia and Alabama game comes up, it's going to be interesting. And I give you the only thing, like I said, the only thing I'm worried about my team is the secondary. And the only reason why I'm worried about the secondary is because they're young. That is it. I
got Carson Beck and Jackson Dart and Milroe and Brady Cook as my top quarterbacks. You put them in whatever order you want to put them in. I can make a case or whatever. But those are the 4 guys. Yeah, I know. Chicken says Mertz. I don't know about that one, Chicken.
Man, you need to stop. Man, you need to stop.
Everybody, listen, Mertz, I tell you, this is what I told my friend about Mertz. Mertz is not the problem, but this is what I'll say. He doesn't have the strong arm like the other guys that we named. He is very accurate in the intermediate game. He's not going to lose you a game, but he also probably won't win you a game. So that's my thoughts on Mertz. You know, Stat, you going to jump in there with the quarterback talk?
No, I'll let y'all have it. You got to the point I was gonna make, which was who is Milroe gonna throw the ball to. So you got to where I wanted to see that conversation go. But
and then we got I think the best wide receiver to ever come out Alabama since Julio Jones, Ryan Williams.
He's a freaking freshman, bro.
Hey.
Hold on. Hey, I ain't no Bama fan, but I ain't about to let you disrespect Jerry Jeudy and Cooper like that. And
No,
Ridley.
I know.
And
I
Ridley. And Ridley.
They're
Come on
not
now.
from, they're not from
Wait, what
Alabama.
about-
Oh, you talking about from the state of Alabama?
From the
oh,
state of Alabama. From
okay,
the
I
state
digress.
of Alabama.
Hang on.
I retract. I retract.
Hang on. Isn't Justin Ross from the state of Alabama?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
And
not the person.
Ryan Williams is the only, and I repeat, only player in the history to repeat as Mr. Football in Alabama.
Bro,
Okay.
you gotta stop.
Okay.
And he won it as a sophomore and a junior.
Okay.
Tell me, all right.
Julio Jones it's not debatable. Stop it.
No, I said the best since
Right.
Julio.
Okay. It ain't.
I said
it ain't.
since. Not, I seen them both play in person.
Right.
I said since. Julio is definitely better, but I'm
Right.
saying it's only been one guy to repeat. It's fast as fast. The man won the award as a sophomore.
Right.
Now,
Right.
but
Okay.
The other point I was going to make is last year, me and Coach agreed that the Pac-12 had the best quarterback play, and this year it is the SEC hands down, and it's just something to be excited about. It's not the same type too. You have guys that are true pocket passers. You have a handful of guys that are true dual threat and are going to absolutely burn you with their legs. You got game managers like Mertz down at Florida. It's a bunch of different styles of quarterback that week in and week out, it should be very interested to see these guys beat each other up head to head.
Right. I think this conference has legit 10 guys that we can bank on being in the NFL. Whenever they finish their careers.
And look,
Whenever
with Oklahoma's receiving room, don't think that Jackson's just not going to do anything because he's a first-year starter, guys. That room is real deal. Who the hell are you going to double team? Who are you going to double team? Nick Anderson had more yards than any of the guys that got at number one in the first team, or anyway all the way through the third team. He had more yards and touchdowns than anybody in the conference last year. You can say it was in the Big 12, okay, but he averaged 21 yards per reception as well. This guy's 6'5", 6'4". You got another guy that's 6'5", and then you got in the guy that came from Purdue, Deion Burks. Go ahead and double team anybody and watch him burn you down the crease. That receiving room is real deal. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to know who to get the ball to in the certain situations. So I like where Jackson Arnold is, even being a first-year starter, just because of the weapons he has around him, period. We're talking about the one, guys that look at Texas, they've got one guy there. There's 4 guys that have caught a football in college football. Only one of them caught one from Quinn Ewers, and he caught like 8 for 138 last year. So, that's Jonte Cook, and he's a true sophomore. He's probably going to be pretty good, but we hadn't seen anything out of him yet. Isaiah Bond, that's their best receiver. Okay, what has he done? What has he done? He wasn't. Brenski just said he wasn't the best guy at Alabama.
But to Isaiah, I would never. I want this. If it ever make it to him, I would never disrespect Isaiah, especially that play he did against Auburn. That made
Milroe. That was all Milroe.
Hey,
bruh,
shout out to Milroe, but somebody had to catch.
I don't know if that was all. I have a different perspective.
Somebody had
I
to
think
catch
it was 50-50 because I think he threw it back there, and Isaiah Bond made a good wide receiver play by slightly pushing off so he don't get caught, and he went up and got the ball. That could have easily been intercepted. So I don't know about it was all Milroe. That's his mind. That's how I saw it. I thought the receiver made a great play on the ball.
You also got to give a little bit of love to the hog mollies up front that gave him about 19 seconds.
Well,
they wasn't rushing.
It was like 2 people
on Auburn's part. They rushed one guy.
The other guy was playing spy for some reason or another. I don't know.
Don't understand. I would never understand that. Never understand that on the play.
Hey, y'all had like 30-something yards to go. He's spying. And this is the
why
thing.
do you do that? Just like,
but this is the thing, Brisky. He's spying as if Milroe decided to run, he was gonna be able to do anything with Milroe. Like, no, he was a lineman spying him. Like, bro, you should have been going to get the quarterback.
I never understand that play when linemen do that. That is the most stupidest thing in the world. I'm like, what are you doing? You're better off just running after the guy. And then
Right.
and what made the game even more frustrating, we could have been in that game a long time ago. We already right there by the line, but we see what our center cost us a chance to play in the national championship. But that's a whole nother story. Ohio State will find out very soon how good he is, since they think they got him one. But hey, what do I know? But
Right.
I'm sorry, man. I was getting bad memories.
That's what fandom does to you, dog. It take you on that emotional roller coaster, take you back to some places that you don't want to go. We're gonna before we get to some games to watch and then our SEC predictions, I want to get to some of these fan questions that's been going on throughout the chat. Timothy said, Coach, I got a question. Would you be interested in West Virginia coaching job if Neil Brown gets fired? Listen, man, I thought hey, Timothy, hold on, Timothy. I thought that the powers that be like Neil Brown. Am I mistaken in that?
I think the powers that be do. I think it's the fan base that doesn't.
Okay. Ian says, I would love to see our offensive players strike the Heisman pose with the horns down and the leg up pose every time they score against Texas. I think it would go viral. The referees have said as long as there's no Texas player around, you can do the horns down just for reference, people. I know we kind of talked about that on another show. Kevin Williams says, if OU does not make the playoffs, and I'll let Jason start with this.
Jason will not answer this question.
Who would you rather play in a bowl game? USC Trojans and Lincoln Riley or Okie like Oklahoma State?
This is not something that I will entertain.
Stat guy, if Oklahoma doesn't make the playoffs, would you rather see them play Lincoln Riley, their former coach, or their rival Oklahoma State, who they don't have a actual rivalry game set up for in the foreseeable future?
Well, just because it would bring me much joy of calling Jason for the next 365 days, I would love for them not to go to a bowl game and that loss to South Carolina be the reason why. But if they are going to a bowl game, give me the trophy and let Lincoln Riley hang about 70 on them.
Oh, okay. Brenski, OU and Trojans in the bowl game.
Did you just say Lincoln Riley would hang 70?
Yeah, bring it on.
Stat guy.
Hold on, can I get mine? Then you? No. I'm letting you go ahead.
I've been nice about your boys all day, and you're gonna talk shit like this. This is not okay.
So disrespectful.
Not okay.
Hey, I want
Lincoln Riley is gonna go 7-5 at best this year, and he went 7-5 with the Heisman Trophy winner last year. Don't tell me how they would hang 70 on anybody. Come on.
What if y'all met up in a bowl game? Y'all would probably be 7-5, 8-4 too. Then what happens?
That's not going to happen. I'm not even going to talk about the chances of it happening because they're not going to a bowl game. They're going to the damn playoff.
Okay.
You think USC's going to there's no way Southern Cal's making the playoffs. You don't believe that?
That's correct. Oklahoma's going to the playoff.
Where you let me know. Let me know when you want to head to Vegas so I can hedge that. Please and thank you. Please and thank you. Let me know when you want to go to Vegas to place those.
Brenski, OU doesn't make the playoffs, and if so, do you want to see them play their former coach in Lincoln Riley or their little brother Oklahoma State, who they don't have a game against in the foreseeable future?
I'd rather see USC because I know during that whole week, Jason can't help himself, man. That man really hates Lincoln Riley so much. I know that man wouldn't waste a second. Wouldn't waste 1 second. That would be the greatest content for all Oklahoma fans ever. He's going to deliver. They may hire him at the SEC for all the great content he's going to deliver that week. I believe that's I want to see that game more than anything because I'm telling you right now.
Brenski, if it happens, I don't think so because regardless of whether OU makes the playoffs or not, they're going to have a better record than USC in my estimation. And honestly, like I would want to see it with both teams full tilt though. like full tilt. Like at this point, I don't know who would play for who. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who would
I think
show
it
up for
would
the
run
game.
from that matchup no matter what. They would turn that ball game down. They would turn that ball
I would
game
love to see that. Go ahead, Stan.
Here's something to keep in mind though. It doesn't matter about records. You still have your bowl affiliations. And the Big Ten and the SEC play hella bowl games against each other. And we have seen a lot of random 9-3 SEC teams going up against a 7-5 Big Ten team because it's based off of seeding, not record, which is why that game is very possible to happen.
Because that's like saying OU would be 9-3, USC would be 7-5, and then they play in the Capital One Bowl. Because we definitely have seen that. Because Georgia played a couple of Michigan State, Nebraska.
He would weasel his ass out of it somehow. Watch that.
Kentucky and Iowa did it. Kentucky and Iowa did it back-to-back years. And I'm like, why would you put the worst bowl game that's ever been? What Bradyac was like? This bowl game was trash.
I think it would get the ratings.
Oh,
at least, I think it would get the ratings that a playoff game would get. Oh my gosh!
And I'm gonna tell you right now, if Oklahoma lose, if that happened, oh my God!
I think Jason will break his TV.
Oh man!
I think Jason will break his TV.
I will be the first show that Jason do is must see TV because I don't know how to
mute his ass already, for God's sakes.
He may even shout you out. Say, you take that.
Oh my God, that would be.
I'm not in charge of this damn stream.
Hey, good question, Kevin. Good question. Sooner Cowboys say we're going to see what year 3 is. More of his guys, more experience, more leaders on defense. It's talking about OU. Good comment. Like I say. All right, Jimmy Lee asks, what position of each of y'all's most worried about for your team? So Stat Guy, South Carolina. Jason is OU. I'm Georgia. Brenski's Bama. I'll start with this one. And I would say most worried about is going to have to be, again, the corner spot opposite Dalen Everett. I think he's going to have a really good year this year. I think he's going to have a similar trajectory that Kamari had. Kamari was getting questioned in his first year like Dalen was getting questioned. I think Julian Humphreys and Daniel Harris will fight it out. Julian Humphreys came in spare time against Mizzou, got hurt, and a couple of other games and looked really good in man-to-man coverage, but he gets a little bit handsy. He did get a couple of penalties. Daniel Harris is very, very long, and he played good in that Florida State game. He played a little bit in the Bama game, not a lot. Just the experience. The good thing is they got Malachi and Dalen on the other side to help him out. But for Georgia, I would say that corner spot opposite Dalen. Jason, OU, what position, he said, are you most worried about on your team?
I kind of think the tight end position is one of the places that you really hadn't really seen them kind of step up yet. They've got some guys that you like coming in. Bauer Sharpe, he's a transfer in, but he played at the FCS level. He looks like a stud. He was a former former quarterback. He looks like a stud. And then you've got a guy that had played at Baylor and before that at North Texas. I think that he's more of your blocking guy, but behind that, you've got a freshman and you've got a guy that we really like as far as what he looks like, but he's been injured for 2 straight years in a way that he hadn't been able to play. So I think that that's kind of the next step for Oklahoma as far as their recruiting on the offensive side of the ball is to kind of really show, kind of lock in on those tight ends because I think that's one of those positions that takes a lot off a quarterback, right?
It does. What I'll say, so those guys you mentioned, this is for me watching OU. They're not like the tight end in the passing game isn't very integral. It's more so his blocking. How do you feel about?
They haven't had him.
Well, I guess because you guys have wide receivers that be elite, so they overshadow whatever tight end you.
The last few years is correct, but if you think about the guys that they've had in that room in the past, there's been some guys that were either the H-back type or a straight up tight end. When they were at their best, they had
good
an unbelievable tight end. And they've been running this same offense or a version of it for basically 25 years. So the best they've ever really been it's
When they
always
have good
with
tight
the
end.
Jermaine Gresham types, or
Right.
you know what I mean.
got
You've
you.
always
Got you.
had some of those studs. So I think that yes, you still put up big numbers, but I definitely agree that if you're going to run the ball better, you want a guy that can block a little bit and be able to play some of that, 12 personnel, a couple of tight ends and that kind of in that deal. I think that right now you've got one guy that's a blocker type, and then the other guys we don't know yet. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. Brenski, Bama, what position are you most worried about for your team?
Said it multiple times on multiple channels. It's always gonna be this secondary this year. I'm just the only reason why is just those guys are just young, because of course we see good old Saint Nick retire, and all those guys like Caleb Downs. Damn, that one hurt. A lot of guys graduating.
It hurt to say that out loud.
Yeah, man. But I thank God every day. I thank God every day.
I knew it.
He did not go to Georgia. Thank God. Thank God. Now that we got that out of the way, so I felt better about that one. I'm like,
right.
Like
you say, got talent in that DB room, just no experience really.
Yeah. Malachi Moore coming back for another year when he could have went pro was major for us to have one of those guys be one of the leaders. Damani Jackson used to be a silent Bama committee until he went to USC. I thought that was a bad decision by him, but it was great to see him come here and really get developed the way he's supposed to be and show that 5-star talent. That helps to have that experience. We got a couple of guys out of transfer portal. Keon Sapp out of Michigan. We have guys with Keon Sapp. He's a junior. We have guys, but we still need like that experience from Jalen Mbakwe, really talented guys. Zay Mincy, Zayden Brown. All these guys are right behind y'all. What's your guy? What's my guy name? He played for Georgia. He was y'all top guy.
On the cornerback? Ellis Robinson.
Yeah, Ellis Robinson. They were 2, 3, and 4 right behind him. So we have the talent. It's just the simple fact that those guys are young.
Yeah.
So we'll just see.
Right. That's a good call. One thing I would say to your point and mine, we both talked about the secondary. Both of our front seven should be to the standard that we're used to having. I don't think last year, even though both of us had good records, y'all made the playoffs, both of us made the SEC championship game. I don't think our fronts were what we were all the way used to. And that's standard. I mean, we got a higher standard, of course. So from the outside looking in, like, oh, y'all play good, y'all held people to, a certain amount of rushing and all that stuff, but they wasn't like at the standard that we were used to playing with. But I think this year with that talent in front, that's going to help those guys. Just like the receiver room at OU is going to help take pressure off of whoever starts at tight end. Now, the question would be Jackson's comfortableness, if that's a word, with his tight end. You know what I'm saying? So stat guy, South Carolina, you got some talent, but what you worried about?
Man, that O-line. It was, look, there's not too many O-lines that you could put in an argument were as bad as Colorado's last year, but you could make a point that South Carolina's was up there. 8 to 9 injuries, season-ending injuries before the season even started last year. As of right now, true freshman, 2 sophomores, a junior and a senior, and the junior might be losing his starting job to a second freshman this fall camp. They're neck and neck heading into fall camp. So potentially 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and a senior on the starting offensive line. The thing is, our offensive line will be better than last year, and there's no question about that. But when you're giving up 50-plus sacks in a season, what is better? If we give up 45 sacks this year, that's still horrible. So just because we see improvement, it could still be a really bad offensive line, and that's what scares me. Obviously, you said y'all have a good front seven. That'll kind of protect your secondary a little bit. What Lenoir's can do with his legs will protect the offensive line, at least from sack category, right? We shouldn't give up a ton of sacks because he's just going to get out of there. But as far as like being a real offensive line, being able to control the trenches, which you have to do in the SEC to establish a run game and protecting the passing game, that's a huge red flag that if we don't fix, it's going to lead towards that 4 or 5 win type season for us.
That's a good call. The offensive line definitely needs to play better. You got a good running back there that could take some of that pressure off, but he needs some kind of hole here and there. And Lenoir's legs is going to be their friend for sure. Absolutely. You're right. You don't, but to advance his passing experience, you definitely want to give him a little time, but that's up to the OC to get him in some plays where he can get that ball out of his hands quick as well. That's where I think some of the talent at wide receiver will help. Put Harbor in some bubble screens, some of those pop passes, those kind of things, just to get the offense clicking. You know what I'm saying? Get their confidence built up. Timothy says, I got news for y'all. Nick Saban coming to West Virginia. Nick Saban show up in West Virginia, y'all will be like partying in the streets, burning couches and all of that good jazz. So let's see. Bishop, you had a question, Bishop Franks. It says, what 3 things would have make the playoffs? Can you clarify that? Are you talking about teams? Because we're gonna give our SEC championship predictions here in a minute. We appreciate y'all rocking with us, man. It's the Saturday Night Snap Count on the Fanatic Sports Network. We streaming live to our channel, to Jason's channel, Hall of Fame College Football. We on Twitter, we on Facebook. Before we go any further, I want to show you our panel. This is our panel, Saturday Night Snap Count panel. Throughout the year, we'll be rotating in, just like, hey man, we got competitive depth on the snap count, so it don't matter who show up, we're gonna give you a good show. But check out all the channels. JJ is a Pitt guy that talks a lot of good college football. He knows he does a lot of stuff about like the conference realignments. Y'all, I know a lot of y'all probably want to know about the Clemson, the FSU stuff. He be in on a lot of that stuff. He's talking college football with JJ Kitchen. That's talking CFB with JJ Kitchen. Shawty Parker, former UGA wide receiver. It's just my damn opinion. I don't know. Shawty told me he may or may not make it tonight, but he's a Georgia guy. Played alongside Kirby Smart. Got his own channel, Just My Damn Opinion, where he does some barbershop talk. Just be ready for whatever comes at you on that channel. And of course, me and the stat guy right here, the Fan Addict. Our Penn State contributor, he's on Twitter if you want to interact with him, Andrew at Sideline Sports Penn State. He does a lot of good football content. Our new member who will be joining us for the game day live streams, Jake from Set the Tone College Football. He couldn't make it today. Him and the wife had a little something to
my dog.
Something to do. Right, Jake played at Washington. You know what I'm saying? We got fans that are knowledgeable. We got former coaches. We got former players. We got Jason at Hall of Fame College Football. Go over there. It says CFB-pod. And then Brenski Sharpshooters Podcast. They talk all sports over there. You know what I'm saying? You get some basketball, women's and men's. You get NBA, NFL. You get it all over there at Brenski at the Sharpshooters Podcast. So that's our panel, man. Just make sure you're getting out there supporting everybody on the panel. And like I say, it doesn't matter who shows up. We got competitive depth here on the Saturday Night Snap Count, so we will always give you good content. Let's see if Bishop, go ahead.
My man Mo said, dang, let me get in on that rotation.
Hey man, listen, we came up with a panel of 8, man. We got some people in the waiting. If some people don't do what they supposed to do, if y'all been rocking with us, y'all see we got a new member and lost a member. You know what I'm saying? So just know the snap count got a waiting list. So that's just how it is. You know, everybody can't listen. All the 5 stars can't go to Bama. You know what I'm saying? Some of them got to go somewhere else. And that's how the snap count is. We can't take all the 5 stars. So. Yeah, man. The Bishop, did you get in to clarify what you was asking us for? We want Bishop's a member of the month here at the Saturday Night Snap. I said, dang, let me jump in the rotation. But let's talk about some games that we interested to see. People in the comments, what games, SEC versus SEC? SEC versus SEC. What games are you looking forward to this year? Stat guy, What games are you looking forward to this year, SEC versus SEC?
Man, you already know there's only one game that matters. October the 5th, Lane Kiffin is going to bring that bomb Juice Wells back up the road to Columbia, South Carolina, and we are going to put a hurting on him. I don't care what the scoreboard says.
That is going to be a really good game because he's got to come back to Columbia, to his old soccer guys. And listen, us fans, we take it personal in different aspects, and we go into other teams' fans, but you know it's real when the players go against the players. And Nick Imawari, the starting safety at South Carolina, he responded in kind to Lincoln Riley's 2001 audio over Juice's, workout video with him in South Carolina shorts. Nick said he called him Judas Wells. So it'll be interesting. Yes, did that on Instagram. Called him Judas Wells. Put a picture of him and called him Judas Wells instead of Juice. So that's going to be interesting because they get to match up head to head. You know what I'm saying? Like Nick is in the secondary. Juice is coming down that slot, maybe the Z, I don't know, but they gonna get some time to get. They gonna get some right. They gonna get some time to get active with each other.
to say there's no love lost, then that's the transfer portal is what it is, but this is what it offers you. It offers you a guy didn't leave in the best light, stayed in conference, and they just so happen to be on the schedule next year. Now you got to put up or shut up. Obviously, the South Carolina fans are out there like, oh, well, it's week 6 or 7 we play him. He'll probably already be out for the season by then, enjoying his NIL check. But look, regardless of what happens, there's going to be some unsportsmanlike conduct flags thrown that Saturday in Columbia, South Carolina. I can promise you that there'll be some jawing.
Right, which we don't control here at the Fat Ass Sports Network, but it does happen on the field. So there's that. Jason, give us some games. It does, whether your team or another team, some games you're looking forward to in the SEC this year. SEC versus SEC.
Yeah, a bunch of games. I think obviously the first one for Oklahoma and Alabama for Oklahoma. So Tennessee, Alabama, LSU on the road will be a lot of fun. I think really every game for OU. I think we're excited about all of them. But I think around the SEC, I mean, Georgia going to Bama. I think that's a big game. I think the A&M Texas, they finally playing that game again after,
How long has it been? I was about to say, how long
11
has
years,
that been?
I think 11 or 12 years. So,
same state, 11 years. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. So I think that that's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a lot of fun because it's going to get rowdy in Texas that week. So look forward to that one. Obviously, good Thanksgiving matchup. That'll be a lot of fun. But I don't know, man. I think that there's a lot of games that are when you look at Oklahoma, I mean, shoot, you got to play all the best teams. So you should look forward to all of them.
Right.
So, I'm excited to all the best teams except for UGA, and maybe you get them at the end. So, I'm excited about that one.
Right. You're right, man. It's in the SEC, man. Like I said this on multiple shows, man. We already, and whether you like it or not, we already were top to bottom the best conference, and we just added 2 blue bloods to the fold, which it only bolsters our reputation. So that just adds more games to the fold. And for the future, I'm looking forward to us going to 9 games. Actually, that just gives me more SEC versus SEC action, to be honest with you. So I'm looking forward to that. Brenski, Alabama or any other team, SEC versus SEC, good on good. You know how Nick Saban like to do it, how Kirby like to do it. Good on good. What you
I'm not picking Georgia and Alabama because I am looking forward to that game. Even though, Sean, we are the kings of the SEC until somebody takes the crown away from us. We are the kings of the SEC. And if we was, for all my Game of Thrones people, if we was in the North, I would say we are the kings in the North. But we're not. We're in the South. But I'm not going to pick that game. I have another game that I am really, really interested in. And it's dealing with your team, Coach I. October 19th, Georgia makes that travel down to good old Texas, which I believe is going to be a night game. I believe College Game Day going to be down there for that game. I believe that's one of them games, man, that can tell a lot about both teams. So I can't wait to see how that game go.
Okay. I'm definitely looking forward to that game.
Tell
For as
how
my
bad
team,
Texas is.
right? For my
Tell you how
team, I'm
bad
looking at 2 games for Georgia. It's the Alabama game for one because it's Georgia Alabama, man. I mean, I don't know if it get any better. For non-rival teams, really. I mean, yes, we have bickering going back and forth. We traded some national championships here and there, and in the CFP era anyway.
Nothing would top the first one.
And so that's going to be good. From my point of view, though, I'm interested in that game because I'm interested to see how Kirby coaches against DeBoer. When you're going against your mentor, it's different. I don't know if any of y'all ever had to compete against your mentor in anything, but it's a little bit different. And it's why they say he the teacher and you the student. It's sometimes you just can't make that final decision that's going to win you the game or something like that. So I'm interested to see how it looks now that Kalen DeBoer is at the helm. And then, of course, I'm looking at the Ole Miss game. The Ole Miss game because, for one, we haven't been to the Grove since 2015, I think it was. And 2016, Kirby's first year. They gave us a whooping down there. Now, granted, that wasn't Kirby guys, but they did give us a little whooping. And I'm pretty sure they ready for some get back after that 52-17 loss last year. So I'm looking at that one. For OU, of course, for me, the game that I'm looking for is OU Tennessee. Josh Heupel going back to his old stomping grounds. That the same.
I would add to that the Mizzou game just because of all the shit they've been talking is going to be fun.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to all of them, but like my favorite is the Tennessee and then the LSU at the end because it's at LSU. It's Thanksgiving weekend. It's probably going to be at night. I'm looking forward to South Carolina, Ole Miss. Like I say, Lane Kiffin is the master of trolling. So when he put the 2001 out there, old Top of Juice's highlights, working out, I was like, it's already got started. Like I said, it's carried over from the fan base to the coaching staff, and now the players with Imawari responding. That's going to be interesting. I'm looking at, and of course, I'm looking at Tennessee, Florida. I know that's a typical matchup, but I want to see what, like you say, Florida had, Jason brought this up earlier. Florida has a hard schedule, but, they've owned Tennessee for the most part. Tennessee has gotten some games here and there in the last couple of years, but they got to go to Tennessee. I think that's a big game for both teams. And then my last one, Texas, OU, because now the Red River is an SEC rivalry. So while they hate each other already, it's even more hate on it because it just means more now. So I'm looking forward to what I'm looking for the first Red River rivalry looks under the SEC patch on the field. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm looking forward to. So those are mine. Bishop did clarify for us, and he says, "What 3 things would you?" Oh, my bad. That's the wrong one. I got the other one. What are 3 things each team needs to do to secure a playoff berth? Georgia needs to have disruptors in the front on that defensive line like we used to. Carson Beck needs to be like Carson Beck was last year, if not better. And we need to win 2 of our 3 hard road games out of the Texas, Ole Miss, and Alabama games. Those are the 3 things. I think, the Georgia, whether they make the SEC championship or not, I think they're making the playoff regardless. Yeah. But those are the 3 things that if I'm talking about the 3 most important things. So defensive line, having disruptors, not just being good at the point of attack. When those 3 games on the road against Texas, Ole Miss, and Alabama. And, of course, Carson Beck being who Carson Beck is. Brenski, Alabama, what 3 things does Alabama need to do to secure a playoff berth?
Play good in the secondary, run the ball well, play great defense. We'll be national champs.
Those are staples at Alabama, by the way. So, yes, they do need to do those
same
things.
Stuff that they always do.
Right. Jason, OU, to make the playoffs, what 3 things do OU need to do to make the playoffs?
I think they're the things that you expect them to do, which is protect your quarterback. Offensively, I'm not concerned about them, but I think the main thing that you're hoping that they do is get some pressure on quarterbacks, on the opposing quarterbacks, which I expect them to do, and play great in the secondary, along with protecting your quarterback. So that's the main thing. Those are the main things. I think that the secondary is going to play a lot better because there's a lot of depth there. You've got some really good players. I do love the makeup of that defensive line and what they look like, but I would tell you that that's definitely important. You guys have all said it plenty of times. You've got to win in the trenches. I think if they do that, they're going to be in the playoff.
There it is. Shout out to Ian, says hi from Australia. How's that? He said, "How's that throwing game you call football?" Hey, it didn't go so well for us in the flag football or whatever, not flag football, whatever game it was we was playing internationally when we sent whoever it was. I don't know what that was all about.
Awful, man. I was like, what is this?
Hey, all I know is that women's sevens rugby team showed you what some football looks like, taking home the bronze medal against Australia.
That's right, Ian. How about that USA women's rugby team beating Australia in rugby with the so-called kick six at the end?
That's gotta be tough, bro. That's gotta be tough.
That was legendary. That was legendary.
Australia to do something like that, and for Australia to be the team that loses that, and they're like the best at that shit. Right?
Didn't rugby start? Didn't rugby start in Australia or something?
Yeah, I think it did. There, South Africa won.
Right. Okay.
You ready for my three, Coach?
Yep.
All right. So the three things South Carolina can do to make the playoffs. The first is invent a time machine and go back to 1984 when we were number 2 in the country and got beat by Navy. The second is let me play the season on NCAA 25. And the third is to flip the calendar to 2026 because that's the only way that shit's happening.
Right. Good answer. That's why I saved you for last. That I knew you was gonna have some classics for us. But that is right. Good question, Bishop. We appreciate it, Bishop. Definitely, like I say, member on Fanatic and the Hall of Fame College Football. He's actually a member of the month here on the Fanatic. We love Bishop over here for always supporting. Tim says, I have a question for the entire panel. Who in the SEC do you think would be your standout team this year unexpectedly? Who could be the standout team this year, Brenski?
Put me right on the spot. I wish you gave me 1 second.
I don't know either, Brenski, so I'm letting you bail me out.
You know what? I'll go out on a limb and I'll just say, nah. I'll say Tennessee off the top of my head.
Okay.
You put them gloves down.
All right, Jason. Jason. Who in the SEC would be your standout team this year unexpectedly?
Since they're picking them to be 8th, according to SEC media, they've got them 8th, so it's Oklahoma.
Okay, that's a good pick. Stat, your team, man, unexpected.
You already know. You already know. Rolling with the Gamecocks. They're gonna finish in the top half of the conference. And since they were picked to finish 14th, I'll take it.
I'm gonna say one of our pretenders, LSU. I don't think anybody's expecting them to be a top team in LSU. At least not anybody that I converse with because of that defense. That defense is putrid. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how you go from having the type of talent that they've always had and then not rushing Perkins in obvious passing situations.
Have them finishing 5th.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought they would finish 5th.
Yeah, that's still for me because of the defense unexpected. Lance getting in the building, probably going with Tennessee. Okay. I think I see that. And like Jason said, according to SEC Media Days picks, they're picked 8th, so that would be an unexpected. I don't think unexpected from any of our viewpoints, but definitely from the SEC Media.
If I was going to go anybody aside from Oklahoma, I mean, that's just, being the homer pick. But I think that Florida could be that team that does better than what a lot of people think they're going to do, man. I really do.
Right. Purple says if South Carolina runs the wishbone, they win in Natty. Purple, that might not be a bad comment right there because they do have Rocket Sanders and Lenoris with those feet. If they ran like the wing tee, if they had Paul Johnson running the option, they could cause Elizabeth.
I think he said the same thing about Bama a minute ago too.
That's what they did back in like 1980s. Ran the wing.
Hey,
ran that wishbone.
J-Day, that's what you have to do as a South Carolina fan is remember when. Remember when. We don't do that at UGA. Yes, you did beat us in 2019, but how many other times have you beaten Kirby? How about that?
Come on, man.
We don't remember when in Athens, dog. We try to we do it now. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to J-Day for getting in. Let's see. No problem, Timothy. Like I say, we like the questions to keep coming in, man. When we have good content like this, I start the questions and good comments. I mean, y'all have been what we want. Y'all have been active in those comments. So that's what we want anyway. So keep them coming, and we'll get to them. We will get to them. Just stick with us the whole time. So let's see. Sooner in Texas, I don't care. I've learned to accept the disrespect towards Oklahoma. We will beat some of the teams that people don't think we will, which is true. I think the season is gonna. I think that's gonna be the case for the season in all these conferences. To be honest with you, now we get to the point of the broadcast where we talk about our SEC championship predictions. But before we do, this is who we predicting who will play in the game. You can give the winner or not. I'm not going to give my winner or whatever. I'm going to give the two teams I think are playing. I got a graphic to show everybody that participated. But before we do, again, this is the end of our Power 4 conference previews. We will have a show in 2 weeks talking about the G5s and Notre Dame because the G5s get a spot. Whoever the highest ranked G5 is get a spot in the playoffs. And, of course, we all think Notre Dame's going to get a spot because they're Notre Dame and they're probably going to win at least 10 games. And then starting during the season, we will be on at 10:30 during the season, only during the season. When we're not in season, it's 9 o'clock. But during the season, 10:30, so we can get those last set of games to try to finish. And we'll be introducing what we call the tailgate ticket, which we will go around as a panel and pick out one player from college football that deserves a tailgate ticket based on his performances, regardless of what position or team he plays for. We'll be introducing the tailgate ticket. So y'all make sure y'all stay tuned in, man. And before we jump into these predictions, I want to say, get out and support everybody on their channels, man. JJ Kitchen, again, Pitt, college football, all of that. Talking college football with JJ Kitchens, Shawty with Just My Damn Opinion, Stat Guy, me and the Stat Guy here on the Fan Addict. Andrew is only on Twitter, SSN Penn State, Sideline Sports Network Penn State. Jake at Set the Tone. You can type in Set the Tone College Football, or you can type in all caps Coach_J Murr. And then Jason at the Hall of Fame College Football, CFB-Pod, and Brenski Sharpshooters Podcast on YouTube, man. Y'all make sure y'all supporting all the content, man. That's why we put this thing together, so we can reach more eyes. You know what I'm saying? We want your fans to be our fans. We want our fans to be your fans. That's how we do it. So, all right, here we go, man. Now, you guys, I'm gonna post these and then we'll talk about it a little bit because I got a couple. It was hard for me because I think there's some scenarios out there that's gonna make this thing interesting. But everybody didn't get the chance to participate. I want to send the condolence out to JJ, our guy. Somebody in his family or friends circle network. He had to go to a funeral tonight. That's not why he's not with us. So JJ didn't get a chance to put his vote in, and then we didn't hear from Andrew. But this is what we got from the people that participated. We got me with Georgia and Ole Miss. We got Jake with Georgia, Bama. Brenski with Georgia, Bama. Shawty with Georgia, Bama. Jason with Georgia, OU. And Stat Guy with Georgia, Texas. Let's talk about it. Stat Guy, you the only person that picked Texas. What's up?
Y'all tell me what y'all smoking on. I don't know. That sounds like a y'all problem. I will say. I'm not going to tell y'all who I think is going to win the game, but I do think whoever wins the regular season matchup wins the SEC championship, and I have these two teams meeting for a third time in the college football playoffs with the other team then picking up the win when it matters the most.
Wow. So you said if Georgia beats Texas 2 times straight, then they lose to Texas in the Natty?
Or at some point during the playoffs. I think these two teams,
okay, I got you.
I think these two teams play 3 times this year.
Okay.
Who the
Look
fuck?
at
That's like,
James said. James says no, not one Vandy or Mississippi State shaking my head. Comment of the night. Comment of the night. If you was a player, James, you would win the tailgate ticket. This is the comment of the night. I like that. Let's see.
The next one down. The next one down. Come on.
Texas, damn stat, puff, puff, pass. I got you. I got you. Stat guy buying into the hype. I got you.
Yes.
I got you. I got you. Jason, you the only person that picked OU. Tell us about it.
I think Oklahoma's, if they don't have the best defense in the conference, they don't play against the team with the best defense in the conference in the regular season. If you cannot score on this defense, how are you going to beat them? So I think that this is the depth on the defensive line. And we're even talking a lot of these folks that haven't been giving them any love say they have the best linebacker room and the best secondary. So I think that they're going to be right up there with Georgia when it comes to defense. Offensively, as I've told you a bunch of times, I think it's completely overblown about this offensive line. I also think it's completely overblown about Jackson Arnold being a first-year starter. They have weapons. They have probably, if it isn't the best receiving room in the country, it's second or third. It's right there with anybody else. So I'm not worried about that. I love their running back room as well. Look, they're big, they're strong, they're going to be fine. One thing you never worry about at Oklahoma is offense. You just don't worry about offense. But that defense right there, if they can do what we expect them to do, and if you look at Brent Venables' defenses in year 3, everywhere he's been, they're in the top 5 all the time. I believe that they can be one of the best. If they're not, like I said, if they're not the best defense in the SEC, it'll be Georgia. They don't have to deal with Georgia unless they get them in the championship game, which they will, and we'll see how that goes as well.
Right. Brenski, you went with the big dogs of the SEC. Another match between the behemoths that is Alabama and Georgia. Tell us about it.
To be honest, Coach, I don't think I went with those guys.
Oh, you didn't. My bad. Let me put that back up. Yeah, you're right. I that is my fault. I got this wrong. I do know who Brenski went with, so we're gonna correct that. Brenski texted me and went with Ole Miss. He didn't go with either of the behemoths in the SEC. Brenski went with Ole Miss and Texas. That is my bad. Right? Way to correct me, Brenski. I pictured that. You know what? I got the text, and Brenski says Ole Miss and Texas will be playing for the 2024 SEC Championship. Brenski, talk about it.
The only reason why I said that, and it was on the spot, asked me again.
I didn't want to put it in the group chat with all of us because I didn't want nobody else using nobody else's. I wanted everybody to have
that
a
was
singular
smart though.
focus.
That was smart though. Only reason I picked those guys is based off just favorable schedule. I think Ole Miss has a very favorable schedule. They hardest game is going to be Georgia, and they have them at home. They have an opportunity. They don't have to play Alabama. They got LSU. I think what I consider is a down year. They have a better defense this year with all the guys coming in the transfer portal. Shout out to Trey Amos that they got in the secondary, which I believe is a awesome pickup for them in the secondary.
It is.
So, and then I think outside of that, another tough matchup is Oklahoma. And it's just favorable for them.
They get them at home too.
And they get them at home too. All of that is just favorable for them. So that's why I think this is Ole Miss best chance. I think this is their best chance that they can get it. I think if they had Quishon Judkins, they would have made it even greater. But that the running back, I don't really know their team like that, but just all face value, I don't think running back is their weakest on their offense.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. See,
It's not. They got a guy that played alongside Junkins. Junkins got the lion's share of the carries, but the other guy's just as good. And he's probably
Yeah, he's
better
probably
at
better.
catching the ball out of the backfield, to be honest with you.
yeah. See, that shows you how much I know about them. And then
Right.
with Texas,
They got an easy
another
schedule. Right.
another easy schedule, which I don't understand. They got Michigan, which I think is completely depleted from like all the guys that they lost. They still got Will Johnson, but a lot of those guys, they have some guys, but it's not like how it was last year.
Right.
They play Georgia at home,
Mhm.
and they have Oklahoma with a normal rivalry, but outside of that, I don't think they play anybody else.
Right. That's a good call. And
They
Go
come
ahead.
to Willie B. They come to Willie B. Hey, just for a quick history lesson, the last time Ole Miss was getting this hype was in 2008 when Colin Snead returned for his senior year. They were preseason number 4 in the country, and a little something called Sandstorm was born. Just a little history lesson.
Right.
Which I still believe he should have just went to the league as soon as possible, because when he came back, it was just like
it wasn't the same. It wasn't
that
the same
stock
at
went
all.
down so fast.
Right. Like, did he even get any snaps in the NFL after that year? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them with these college careers, man. Sometimes it's time to go ahead and jump in there. So that means that me and Brenski both had Ole Miss in the SEC championship. I never pick any team to win all of their games. I won't pick Ole Miss to do it, but if there's a team in the SEC that can go 12-0, it's Ole Miss. Because, again, they lost 2 games last year. They lost at Georgia, at Bama. They don't play Alabama this year. They get Georgia at home. They get Ole Miss. They get Oklahoma at home. They got to go to LSU, but, I mean, what is LSU? Last year was a shootout.
With no defense.
With no defense. Ole Miss made some changes they got Walter Nola and Prince Umamielen from Florida to try to bolster that line. They wasn't able to play a lot of man-to-man because they didn't have the corners to do it. Now they got Amos. At least one side can play man-to-man.
They damn sure don't play a game until damn October.
Right. So I think it's either gonna go like this. It's either gonna go 12-0 Ole Miss, 11-1 Georgia, 11-1 Alabama, and I do have Dogs beat as of now. I got the Dogs beating Alabama, but that could change. Like I say, I ain't saying Ole Miss going 12-0. I'm saying if there's a team out there that can. I don't think any team in the SEC should be picked to go 12-0, but if there's a team out there that can, it's Ole Miss. I just think there's too much coming back. And again, they don't have a hard schedule outside of they got 3 games, bro. They got 3 games. and 2 of those are at home. So I think that's what that would be. Now I do also think there could be a chance there could be a 3-way tie. I think Alabama, Georgia, and Ole Miss could be 3-way. Now they don't have past head-to-head and common opponents. They don't have any criteria. They're still working on that, but I could see Alabama's only loss. I could see Alabama's only loss being Georgia. I could see Georgia's only loss being Ole Miss. And I also could see Ole Miss losing at Florida, that last road game. They do have to go to the Swamp. That's if Florida still has the confidence about themselves. I don't know. They might be too mentally, beaten up by that time. That's all that I can see that now. In that scenario, Ole Miss and Alabama don't play. Their only common opponent is LSU. I think they both beat LSU. As long as Alabama doesn't trip up against Tennessee, which right now I'm not calling that. I'm not saying, because I think by then that offense will be kind of together. And the only reason why I'm picking Georgia over Alabama is because we do get them 4th game of the season. If it was like the 8th game of the season, then it'd be a different story. Because I'm hoping that we can catch them while they still working out the kinks on that offense, that type of thing. So that's what I got. It'd be interesting. I think it's a good chance that there's a more multiple team ties in the SEC. So, Timothy Green, what did you saw? Y'all talking about better? Which USC will be better? Which USC will be better record wise? Purple? I don't know.
That's a great question. Actually,
that's a good question. Purple. Record wise?
SoCal.
You think so? Let's look at their schedule. South Carolina. Well, if you go out and watch our
They
South
definitely
Carolina
have an easy
preview,
schedule, but
I
it's
got
not
South
that
Carolina at what did I have them at? I had them at 6.5 wins, I think,
easy.
or I might have had 6 or 6.5. I think USC Trojans is probably 7-5, 8-4, without looking at the schedule. So
Their schedule, they don't have Ohio State, they don't have Oregon, but they go on the road to Michigan.
okay,
They play some games they can lose. They're at home to Penn State, but I
Okay.
mean, we'll see what's up with Penn State. But
right.
if you looked at it and you think maybe LSU probably beats them, then again, they don't usually look very good in week 1. So who knows?
Right.
And that's
And they got to go out to Vegas.
yeah, it's a Vegas thing. So we'll see what happens. But
I think barely the Trojans. I don't think it's a runaway which USC
I
team
think
has the
5
better.
and 4, that's probably a little better than South Carolina, but maybe I think that South Carolina could be in the top half too. I don't think that they're that bad.
I think it could be Trojans 8-4. Yeah, I think it could be Trojans 8-4, Gamecocks 6-6. I think it could be Trojans 7-5, Gamecocks 5-7 or 6-6. So a game or two, not like where when USC 2 years ago won 11 games and South Carolina won 8 games, where there's 3 games separating. I just don't. I mean, maybe they've done something in Los Angeles to fix that defense, but just like the Gamecocks hadn't been able to block over the past couple of years, USC ain't been able to stop nobody. So I don't know.
I answered Timothy Green's. He's 2 teams out of the Big Ten? I think it's 3 teams.
Yeah, I think the SEC and the Big Ten in some form or fashion get 7 teams out of the 12.
That's where I'm at too.
And right now, I'm leaning because of the quarterback play. I'm gonna lean more towards SEC getting 4 teams, the Big Ten getting 3 teams. So that's just. And if we had to pick 3, Ohio State, Oregon, and I'm gonna go with
Iowa.
Penn State, Michigan, kind of here for me. Iowa got to show me. I know they changed offensive coordinators. They got to show me they can do it, though.
The thing about that is they play 1 game against somebody who's very good. 1.
Hey,
they go on the road to Ohio State, and then I showed you that.
Yeah.
We can schedule.
Right.
It's unless somehow Nebraska's a lot better in year 2 with the freshman quarterback. I don't see a way they go worse than 11-1, 10-2. No way.
The thing is, when you only average 13 points a game, it's a lot easier for somebody to knock you off.
Right, because that's just 2 special teams.
A spread offense now this year. They're going.
That's what I'm saying. I'm interested to see, because last year they averaged like only giving up like 13, but they were only scoring like 14, and it's like. That could be a fumble or a pick 6, or what I'm saying. It's like that's just crazy. But I mean, it has been done.
The schedule 21 running the spread though. Come on, man.
Hey, they haven't. This is the thing though. They haven't ran it. So handoff exchanges, those pop passes, those things can be tricky. We saw in the SEC, was it SEC championship? I think it was. We tried to do some kind of fake handoff. Orbit screen handoff, and then we kind of fumbled the ball, and I want to say it was Tresman Marshall got up on the ball. That was a key turnover for us, because that's something that we normally don't do. Dogs rolling loud says hard for me to see us losing to Ole Miss. I think we're the better team, Dogs. What I'm saying is they play better at home, and they made some changes. One of the reasons I actually watched this game last night, because I was like, I thought we was better than Ole Miss last year, but I didn't think we was 52-17 better than Ole Miss. But they played us zone the whole game. Bro. You cannot play zone against Carson Beck. You might as well not even show up. Now, again, they brought in Walter Nolan and Prince Umamielen from Florida to help the rush so that they can play man in the back end. They brought Amos from Alabama, who's I think a good man-to-man cover guy. Now, what they can do at safety in the other corner is the question. So I can tell you like this: if you playing zone against us, yes, I can see us rolling into Oxford and doing those guys. But if they can play man and do stuff like that, UG has the toughest conference schedule. It's definitely tough because we got 3 games on the road. I don't know about toughest. Florida's
nobody's topping.
I think
Florida. Nobody.
So Florida plays Florida plays 9 preseason top 25 teams. South Carolina plays 8. Those are your top 2 toughest schedules in the SEC.
Yeah.
Well, he's talking about just
Oklahoma
conference.
plays 7.
Like, so you have like you have to take Clemson off of your schedule. You have to take Florida State. You have to take UCF. Take Miami off of Florida's schedule. He's saying toughest conference schedule, and I think the reason why he's saying that is because Georgia goes. Nobody else goes on the road to 3 particular contenders per se: Texas, Alabama, and Ole Miss. Those are the 4 teams that everybody's talking about in the SEC are Georgia and those 3 teams, and Georgia has to play all 3 of them. That's the only reason why I would think he would say that. I would think, doesn't somebody in the Big Ten have a hard conference? And didn't Ohio State get stuck or something like that?
No, because all of them are the only thing that's weird about the Big Ten. The only thing
Michigan
that's
schedule's the toughest one out of the contenders.
Okay.
Every other week they're home or away. They
Okay.
don't have back-to-back home games.
I got you. But I think Michigan got the short end of that stick, right, Jason?
Yeah, the toughest out of all the contenders, quota contenders, and I would tell you that with all the guys that are gone, those are the guys that I still kind of expect them to contend for it. I'm not positive that we see. I'm not positive that we see Oregon be able to handle the travel.
Well, I think Michigan still is going to play hard, tough-nosed football. So if they're able to run on you, I can tell you right now, it's going to be a long day for you.
Absolutely.
And they still got Donovan Edwards. And this is what I'll say about toughest schedules, toughest games, and stuff like that. It also plays a part what kind of team you're talking about. Of course, people may not. Right. And then if you look at Georgia, of course, with the talent, you may not think a game is as tough. If that same, like right now, if South Carolina had to play Georgia's schedule, they still would have one of the tougher schedules in the nation because South Carolina doesn't have the talent on both sides of the ball that Georgia has. So that plays a part in it too. So, but yeah, I mean, like I say, I think they're one of them. I don't know about the toughest, but one of them for sure. Oklahoma goes to Bama, Ole Miss, Auburn, and Mizzou. True.
We don't go to Bama.
No, Bama comes to. I was about to say you go to Ole Miss, LSU, Auburn, and Mizzou. But LSU, Auburn, and Mizzou, nobody's picking them to win the conference. I think when you compare just the conference schedule, now total, if you put home and away, OU, I feel like OU is probably harder than Georgia. If you just talk about conference and you talk about who's going on the road to better teams, then Georgia, of course, because they have to go to those 3. Let's see. Baton Rouge. Yeah, definitely got to go to Baton Rouge. Yep, definitely got to go to Baton Rouge. But like I said, you get Alabama at home. So Alabama goes on the road. If you're just looking at schedules, though,
one of the tougher schedules too.
Right. If you're just looking at schedule, period, they got to travel to Wisconsin. While I think Alabama is going to win that game, I think that Wisconsin's going to make it a good first half. Let's say that. A good first half. And then,
Alex Grinch.
Their conference schedule, Bama's conference schedule is rough.
Alex
Grinch ain't their DC, bro. He's just like he's just
like an analyst or something, right?
He doesn't need to be nothing. If he's up there, I'm taking Alex Grinch.
I'll give you that.
South Carolina has a hard schedule altogether. It's like they don't have to play Georgia this year, but instead of playing Georgia, they got to play Alabama. So it's like, you half a dozen in one hand, 6 in the other, right?
And then you get LSU and Ole Miss. I mean, you get them both at home, but it's like,
and you always play Clemson, right? You always play Clemson. So, all right, man. Listen, man, we've been rolling for 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I appreciate everybody. It's the Saturday Night Snap Count. We wanted to make the SEC version the better because it just means more. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate everybody getting in these comments, man. Again, make sure y'all getting out here to all these channels, man. Subscribing to the channels, hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of the content. Again, this is the panel. We got competitive depth here at the Saturday Night Snap Count with all of our guys. We'll be in a constant rotation, and you never know. You got to check in every week because you never know. You might get all 8 of us at one time. You just don't know. So just know that. And this is the new look SEC, baby. It's 2024. SEC got 16 teams. Y'all see it. Hey, listen, man, it just means more. We're the best conference. We were the best conference, and we still are the best conference moving forward. So anybody got anything they want to say before we get up out of here? Stat guy, start with you.
The stat guy, 6048. Y'all come find me on NCAA 25. and I promise you, I will run that thing down your throat. No Diddy.
Right. Jason, tell the people where they can find you and if you got any closing remarks, man.
Hey, Hall of Fame college football with Jason and the coach. It's at CFB-pod right here on YouTube. We also have the Hall of Fame Sooners channel, and you can find me on Twitter at JW_HOF. Hey, man, it's going to be a fun season. It definitely just means more. I'm excited about this first year in the SEC for Oklahoma, and look forward to kind of running through some of these teams that talk all that trash.
There it is. Be sharp. Give the people a parting word and tell them where they can find you, dog.
Oh man, I'm still laughing at Stack guy. I was about to say pause for one, and he came with that, bro. I was like, oh my god. But I'm Brenski Sharpe with the Sharpshooters Podcast. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter at B_Sharpe on Twitter. Sharpshooters Podcast on YouTube, on the road to 600. So y'all get us there. Special shout out to my boy Mo. He just hit 1,000 subscribers on
Hog Wild Podcast.
Yeah. So definitely shout out to him on that. Just shout out to you guys. Appreciate it for even allowing me to even be up here. So I definitely want to shout out you guys. And last and most importantly, I want to give a special happy heavenly birthday to my grandmother, Miss Araday Lewis.
Happy birthday.
Continue to rest in peace, Granny. I just want to make sure she get that shout out because I ain't say happy birthday to her all day.
That's right. Happy birthday, Granny. Hey, we know you're resting easy up there. So, hey, man, y'all make sure y'all get out here listening. As we close this thing out, man, make sure y'all, subscribe to all these guys' channel. Get them over the hump. Jason's right there knocking at the door on 4,000. Make sure you get them there. Fan at it. We trying to get to 3,000. Hey, make sure you get us there. We trying to get Brisky to 1,000, but right now he say he wants 600. Hey, man, y'all get over there, get my guys to 600.
Stop being stingy.
Right. If you want that smoke on the EA College Football 25, Stat Guy is waiting on you. He plays real football. He ain't airing it out. So if you're looking for some old crazy plays, don't play Stat Guy. He's like 34-2 or something like that. So y'all make sure y'all get at the Stat Guy. And listen, man, I don't always do this, but when I do, it's going to be here on the Saturday Night Snap Count, wherever you are. If you're an SEC fan, whoever you root for. Right now, as we close out this show, we're going to give a SEC check because it just means more. SEC.